For me, yeah, definitely the most difficult climb I've ridden in on Flandrian roads. Harder than Padersberg, harder than Oude Kwarma is really quite a walk in the park compared to the Koppenberg. There's never any recovery in this. I think that's really what's going to cause this to be probably the hardest cross we'll see all year.
Riders are ready. Away we go. They attack the first time up the Koppenberg. Toon Aerts now going clear. Wyman pucks the air with delight. Van der Poel collapses exhausted at the top. It's a victory in the Koppenbergcross. Hello, welcome along. It is one of my favourite days of the year. Round one of the DVV Trofee, the Koppenbergcross, that famous climb. Our little teaser there just gave you a little bit of a taste. Magnus Backstead, who was with us last weekend, just giving us his thoughts on what the Koppenberg meant to him as a rider. As I said, this is the DVV Trofee round one. It's always a great series. Before we kick off today, let's have a look back at how it unfolded last year. Kim van der Steener there. What a great race we had last year. And as you know, here on GCN Racing, we'd like to bring you our special experts. And one of our special experts that you saw there on the start line and during that one is Nikki Bramier. And she joins us remotely today. Welcome, Nikki. It's great to have you with us here on GCN Racing. I know the Koppenberg is always a special day for you.
Yeah, definitely. I think I can't remember a day when I've not been there on the 1st of November the last so many years. And yeah, it's kind of strange to be on the other side of it this year. But yeah, it's I'm happy to be here with you today. So yeah.
So before we kick off today, we've got to say we've got a Babadoo in about 4 weeks, I think. So we've got a potential. Yeah, so a potential world champion in maybe 20 years time. So we wish you all the best.
We'll see with that one.
Now, the Koppenberg, as I said, this is one of my favourite days of the year as a commentator. I've been doing this a while, and it was always a day that I look forward to as a commentator. But what is it about this race that makes it so special? You've ridden quite a few editions.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's just a classic of the cross season. There's so many so many races around this area, and just to ride on that climb and experience it and know how difficult it is. You have so much respect for the riders that do this race. You know, there's not many races where people absolutely collapse on the top of a climb at the end of a finish line in a cross race. So that says something. And just the area where it is, like Belgium, it's the central place in Belgium where all the kind of history of Belgium is it's really special.
Now we will try and update you on some results, because there's a whole lot of different countries here today. As soon as I get some of the ones that have just come in, I'll give them to you. But we were chatting a little bit earlier on, because I said Zoe Backstead, who a lot of GCN Racing viewers will know from last winter. But Zoe sent me a picture of her cobble. She won this morning. That's brilliant for a young British woman, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. Just for these girls to come and experience what the Koppenberg's like, and actually to go and get a result like that. I mean, it's amazing for Zoe, and I'm super happy for her. I'm sure she's got plenty of wins to come in her career, and yeah, she's so talented. So it's great to see.
And from Zoe, so I said to her dad a little bit earlier on, he's going to have to move his Paris-Roubaix cobblestone slightly. But Magnus was with us last week, and I had a little bit of a chat with him about the Koppenberg.
Riding the Koppenberg is just about finding the one line that's got any kind of grip on it, because it's all covered by forest. So you tend to find that, especially on a road bike, you just got no grip on certain lines. And if you get forced into that line that hasn't got any grip, it's virtually impossible to even make it up. But in cross, it's just so much about being patient, especially in the start. You know, by the time you're starting to lap around there and you're doing a shorter part of it, yeah, we see every single time that there's a cross race here that every rider falls over at the top to barely make it over the finish line. So it's just a brutal climb to do, and the steepest part is right in the middle of it as well. So 22%. You're struggling to turn the pedals over, and it doesn't really matter what gear you go on. So everyone is flat out. Everyone is just what speed you have. So for me, yeah, definitely the most difficult climb I've ridden on Flandrian roads.
In terms of riding on the road in something like Tour of Flanders, as you did many times, and riding cobblestones on cross, we see little cobbled sections occasionally. Yeah. But is there a difference in the dynamic in the way you would approach that climb as a cross rider compared to how you would do it when you're coming in full gas in Tour of Flanders?
And I think it's relatively similar, because if you go too hard up the climb, then you're not going to have any legs left when you get to it. So you got to sort of find your rhythm up the climb, and this will be very similar in Koppenbergcross, that you got to find your way of climbing and find your rhythm, find your gearing, and then obviously on cyclocross you run such low tire pressures up there as well, so you actually find that you'll end up having a bit more grip than what you got on when you're doing it in Tour of Flanders, for instance, where you're struggling to find the grip, especially if it's wet. It's almost impossible to make it all the way up there. And have seen in the past riders walking up. I've walked up it on the other occasion, because once it stalls in the middle, there's just no way of getting back on the bike and getting the traction again, which on a cyclocross bike you definitely can do. So yeah, it's a very, very particular type of course, this.
It is indeed. And so, Nikki, we were chatting a little bit there with Magnus about how you approach this differently as a cross rider as opposed to a road rider, because we start right at the bottom, don't we? And you get that full run into the Koppenberg, but then each lap you're coming out a little bit further up the climb, which again, coming out of that corner, must present its own problems.
Yeah, definitely. It's definitely a race where you have to kind of pace your effort, and that's not normally the case with cross. It's normally you have to just go full gas straight from the gun, but it's very easy to go over your limit too early. So you'll probably see some of the more experienced riders maybe hold back a little bit in those first couple of laps, just to save some energy for the last two laps. And especially today, it looks quite technical out there with a bit more mud than the previous years. So yeah, definitely. It will definitely be a challenge for a lot of the riders.
Does that combination of the cobblestone climb and how muddy it is, does that present issues with tyre selection and tyre pressures and that kind of stuff?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, you have to really think about your tyre pressure anyway, going up those cobbles. You don't want your tyres too hard, because you're going to just be hitting every single cobble going up. But at the same time, you kind of need, if you're coming down all the descents and it's super slippy, then you just kind of want to make sure you're on the limit of what you can handle, so you can get a little bit of grip around them corners, but not risking getting a puncture or something.
Okay,
so,
right.
It's definitely important.
Okay, so we a few of you already. Don't forget, get involved over on the chat forums. I'll do my best to keep a track of theirs. Let us know where you're watching us today. A few of you are asking already, is Jeremy with us today? So we're gonna push it today here on GCN Racing. So we're gonna go over to Jeremy Powers, who is in Koppenberg, and we're gonna get him. Just being told in my ears we haven't quite got him yet, so we'll come back to him in a little bit. But let's have a look at today's start list. And Nikki, we've got the who's who at the moment. I know we're missing the likes of Brandon Voss, but the start of the season: Anna-Marie Verse, Celine Del Carmen Alvarado, Alicia Maria Arzoufi, Yara Castelline. Some of the names that are really, really setting things on fire so far this season.
Yeah, for sure. I think the 777 team are really out there kind of setting the pace at the moment. And I think you can see just as a team, they're really growing in confidence. And I think each one of those riders has, I think, won a race already this season. So I'm sure in the team bus and everything before and after the races, the spirits are high.
No Sana Kant today as well. She had a few issues before last week's decided to sit today out. She crashed, I think, just before Garver on the pre-laps, and it looked like she fell pretty heavy, and she's done something to the sacrum. So she's obviously wanting to take a little bit of time out this weekend to recover from that. It's a long season, so I guess she wants to save some of her energy for later. Let's talk a little bit. Anna Kay. Could be a good one today for Anna Kay, being a good climber as well. Katie Compton as well. Katie Keogh. A couple of other riders that the climbers could maybe do something today. Because when you look back at the history of this race, Jolien Verschuren has won this race on a number of occasions as well. Do you think it might suit those sort of riders today?
Yeah, definitely. You have to be a good climber to do well in this race. But I think this year, having looked at the course now and how muddy it's getting and slick out there, then definitely have to be a technical rider as well. And I think Anna Kay is really improving every single race. She's obviously stepped up a level this year. Katie Compton is coming back from a broken arm, and you can see her confidence growing every race. So I think it'll be quite close at the front of this race today.
Because I think, kind of thinking back a couple of years, Helen Wyman and Katie Compton had that great battle where Katie's so good, isn't she, on the sort of technical back the back section of the course with the descents, and then it was kind of Helen was making her way back up to her on the climbs. But looking at the conditions and looking at the way Katie Compton rode in Beringen last week, she could be, you know, when we look at the climbers, she could be the big favourite today, because she definitely looks like she's come into this sort of European season with good form.
Yeah, definitely. And she obviously, she didn't race at Garver on Sunday, so she's a little bit more fresher than maybe a couple of the others are. She's experienced in this race. Her condition is improving every week, and yeah, on the descent, she really knows what she's doing. She's in control of that bike, and she's smooth. And I think she wasn't really tiring in Beringen last week on the climb, so it's definitely there's a lot of strong points going for her today.
There's our previous winners. So Pavla Havlikova back in 2009. So Helen Wyman, you can see there on a few occasions, 4 occasions for her. Sophie de Boer, previous winner. Jolien Verschuren, you can see there as a couple of those. We're right down on the start line. Ava Lechner has had a great season. Beth Crumpton and Anna Kay behind her. Ellen van Looy there. Anna-Marie Verst in this European Champions jersey. Lois Sells getting a good start position. Celine Del Carmen Alvarado. Yara Castelline behind her. There's Herta Hooker in the blue behind Alicia Maria Arzoufi there. Katie Keogh getting a good start position, as is Katie Compton. Last year's winner, quite interestingly there, as Nikki has got a second row start, Kim van der Stene.
Yeah, I know she missed I think the last half of the season last year. I don't know if she had some kind of injury or she was busy or something. I don't know what happened, but so she would have been down on UCI points. And I don't think she's had amazing results yet this season. So maybe it's a good opportunity for her today to show herself. You know, she doesn't live far from here. She knows the road. She won last year. So yeah, we'll see if she'll be able to move up some points in the next few weeks.
10 seconds to the start now. You can see the riders are ready. Watch the lights as we go straight up the Koppenberg. A pretty brutal start to this one, and we are off and racing. Lechner gets a good start there. The Italian champion versus Del Carmen Alvarado. Keo from Cannondale cyclocrossworld.com through. Oh, there's a tumble at the back. So down Stephanie Paul is one rider. Hirte Hooker. That's a shame for Hirte Hooker. So Nikki Hooker last week she's been climbing super well. That's a disastrous start for Hooker.
Yeah, definitely. I'm sure she would have wanted to be up there this year. She was up there last year and really out there kind of towards the front in the first few laps then. So yeah, it's disappointing for her. Maybe she can claw away back up the field a little bit.
Let's take you through that. So Lechner, you've got there, and then you've got Castelline is alongside her. Beth Crumpton, Anna Kay have got good starts here. Keo versus just battling with the slopes of this one. And there's Katja Blankavas, the Hungarian champion, is there. So from the Merida Marathon team, you can see her number 43. Again, this sort of race just shows up some new riders. Van Looy, Crumpton, Sells going through there as well. So good start, everyone. This climb. There's Van der Steener there, quite far back for Van der Steener at the moment. Katie Scott going through for British fans. And I think that's Zan Kreese going through there for Team Impella. So they just run you through your start list. There's Lechner leads from Castelline, Kay and Blanca there from at the start as they go through. Alicia Frank well to the front. So for British fans, Anna Kay, Beth Crumpton is on the start line as well. Melissa Baker, Fiona Turnbull, Emily Ashford, Zan Kreese, Ellie Dilks. Dilks is here, Eldony Baker also in there as well. So Katie Scott, Millie Cousins, Mary Lynn are some of the other riders. So Anna Kay getting a good start here for the Experza Footlogics team. And Nikki, just take us through that start. You just saw how much everyone battling with that one, and now almost an opportunity to just breathe a huge sigh of relief here.
Yeah, absolutely. Just to get to the top of that climb in a good position, and obviously Lechner and Jar want to take on the race, and you can see already gaps starting to open up this early. So yeah, you can just imagine the pain in the legs they've got at the moment, or at least I can. So now I've ridden it quite a few times, and yeah, they'll be on the limit already.
Yara Castelline, again, she had a great breakthrough win last week, and for a rider, again, when you're sort of there on the fringes, you've been a national champion as a debutant, as a junior, and you've won a lot of races as a youngster. When you start to pick up wins in super prestige, as you have, the feeling of just elation, motivation, and almost relief in a way that reinforces your talent. That's huge for her.
Yeah, definitely. I think as a junior, she probably had quite a lot of pressure on her, and she was winning races then, and kind of she's had some slow progression the last couple of years. But it seems like this year she's stepped up another level, and you've seen it last season. She started to get a few more results, and yeah, I think now that she's actually got a big win under her belt, last weekend in Garba, that was a super strong race, and she looks like she's taken control of this one today as well.
So number 49, that's quite well up there at the moment. So in the blue, getting up there. So out of that corner, so 49 on our start, it's Katie Scott, Castelline and Lechner. Lechner again over the last few weeks, taking second a couple of weeks ago, and a phenomenally strong rider. Celine Del Carmen Alvarado just trying to close that gap down is Alvarado. So they're just pulling this group back together. Kay and Frank. So Alicia Frank there for Experza is also up there.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like you think on these descents that you can try and recover a little bit, but you have to really be pedaling the whole way just to get that grip and just to keep in sight of the race, because this is a race where you can really lose sight of the leader very quickly, and then that's when the gap's open up.
Over the top of Lechner, these little steep banks that they've got, and the course changed a few years ago. Nikki, you were saying as well, from one side to the other.
Yeah, definitely. We used to have a bit of a run up to get to the Koppenberg, and that course was kind of in for like the last 10 years really. And then 3 years ago they changed it, so we started right at the bottom of the Koppenberg, finished at the top, and the course has changed quite a bit in the years before that. So yeah, I've not actually raced on this course when it's been muddy like this. So it's good to watch today.
Castelline digging in here already on this opening lap, going clear. So Lechner, Alvarado, then comes through Alicia Frank, Alicia Maria Arzufi, Anna-Marie Verst, Ellen Van Looy right behind her. Then right behind them, you've got Katia Blancavas and Katie Scott. So Katie Scott in that blue and fluorescent yellow, getting a great start here for Garden Shed UK Scott Verge Sports. The British rider there in the blue and yellow. Katie Compton well up here as well. Laura Verdonschott just coming through. And then you've got Katie Keogh, and then right behind her, Maria Norbert Riberola. Last year's winner Kim van der Steener going through next. Karen Verheestraten is the next rider. So that is your order here, all on that tie. Again, just on these little twists and turns here, Nikki, the mud you were saying as well in this on these sort of races is sort of shoe sucking mud sometimes.
Yeah, definitely. I think when there's been a lot of rain, it's definitely all the mud sticks to your back and everything. Today it looks like it's been quite dry there the last few days, and then you've got that surface mud which is super slippy. It's almost like riding on ice, and you're constantly having to keep your weight on the back of the bike to keep the pressure down and just keep moving forwards.
So in for the bike change. Yeah, so Castelline already. Then it's Arzufi, Alvarado. There's Jolien Verschuren as well in the red. So double former winner in Jolien Verschuren. And we've not had you with us yet, Nikki, but for a lot of us, we've all been saying just to see Jolien back and racing and making steady progress. It's a special thing, isn't it?
Yeah, for sure. It wasn't nice to hear about her having to pull out for last season, and she's obviously had quite a hard time with that. And for her to come back and be back in the field and racing again, I'm so sure she's happy about that.
So look at that gap already, Castelline here. So again, you've got to just make on these sort of little off-camber sections, Nikki, just that calculation on where, again, take us through that pre-ride setup that you would looking at the course. Is it all you decide in advance where I'm going to dismount, where I might try and ride it?
Yeah, I think you definitely have to have a few different options in your head going into a race like this, especially when you know that possibly before your race starts, you're going to have a couple of races on there beforehand. So you kind of have to just almost guess what's coming up and be able to adapt and change lines every single lap. So yeah, I mean, some of these girls will have ridden maybe an hour and a half ago, and of course it's been maybe quite different by that point.
Compton there going through that section. So Compton just on the little off-camber section here, Keogh, and just see Anna Kane, just see the riders just managing that off-camber descent there. Just apologies if you're getting a little bit of picture freeze at times here at the moment. I say a few of you over on the chat from struggling to hear Nikki. I'll let my tech guys know about that. I'm sorry if I'm super loud. I am quite a loud person anyway.
I've put the microphone up to my mouth, so maybe that's a bit better now.
There, thanks for doing that. There's Verschuren going through that on the descent here. And right with her, Letitia Mouse is also with her. So our Team Impeller riders, so right behind Verschuren at the moment. So thanks all of you for checking in here on a Friday. So Motu Colombo saying hi from Germany, checking in. Ed from Chile, Colorado, thanks also for joining us. Carl Van Herderbeek from Texas, just checking in. Stuart Locklear from Girona. Thanks all of you for saying hi. Richard from Spain. Kevin Devon from Ireland. So all of you from all over the world checking in to say hi today in our coverage. 777 again looking good. Anna-Marie Verst just comes through here. Alicia Maria Arzufi. Compton goes in there. So last year the top 10 in this race was Van der Stine, Arzufi, Verst, Van Looy, Hirtehukke, Zarnekant, Nicky Bramia, who's alongside us today, Helen Wyman, Ava Lechner and Elle Anderson. That was the top 10 in this one last year. And Compton there, we just caught a glimpse of her there. Compton goes down a little bit hot into that corner.
Yeah, I think it's super slick on these corners now, and everybody's looking for the grass and trying to get that grip going around the corners. But yeah, it looks pretty tricky out there.
Castelline though already a great start from her, and Arzufi again. Nikki, in terms of like when we see this situation, and we've been talking about it a lot in terms of teams and team riders, and Verst, Castelline and Arzufi, they look like they ride well together, but the team dynamic, we see Annemarie Verst getting away from everyone else. Is it kind of that situation where, okay, you can move and come across, but try not to take everyone else with you?
Yeah, you basically just don't want to be working against each other. I mean, cross is an individual sport at the end of the day, and it's very hard to ride together, especially in these kinds of conditions. And it's almost, just not riding against each other. If they're there together, then they can work together to kind of move up the field and create gaps. But yeah, you kind of have to just ride your own race.
So on to the climb.
And they all know this as well. Yeah,
onto the climb. Castelline is there. Verst right behind her, out of the bottom of this one. And again, just grinding their way up the Koppenberg. If you are just joining us today, welcome aboard. This is the DVV Trofee round 1 of the Koppenbergcross. And Ava Lechner, the Italian champion, chasing down. It's one of our best days of the year, this one, in terms of spectators. The Koppenbergcross, always a special one. Martin McDonald and Nicky Bramia with you today, and a few more of you checking in. Martin Burkich asking if I can adjust my volume. I have no control. I just sit here and talk. So the guys, I'm sure, are monitoring things, and we'll sort that out as well. Gary Vernon checking in from Toronto. Behind the lap 1, 11 minutes and 53 for Castelline. Verst going through the timing mat next, so Annemarie Verst goes through. So we're already 16 seconds here, Nikki.
Yeah, definitely. You can see them just like how muddy the cobblestones are, and they're trying to keep the weight seated, and they don't want to get out of the saddle too much because then you're just going to slip. So it looks super difficult.
Yeah. So and 30 seconds back to this chasing group already from this one. So phenomenal start. That's
a big gap. Yeah, I think definitely the muddy conditions are playing a part in this. The last few years, there's been big groups those first couple of laps, and this year you can see everybody's just ones and twos and all over the place. So
we're seeing a lot. We're seeing a lot of bike changes constantly here. Is it kind of again once or twice per lap?
Yeah, it looks that way. I mean, I think the grass has recently been cut over that way, so maybe a lot of the grass is getting stuck in the rear mech, and then they're having problems with the shifting, or they don't want to be carrying extra weight on going up them climbs. So I'm sure that's the reason for a lot of bike changes.
Millie Cousins going through there in 13th. Beth Crumpton, Katie Scott 16th and 17th. There's Katie Scott just going through your picture there. And again, another young rider. So for viewers around the world that might not follow or won't have seen some of our British riders before, Millie Cousins is, again, she's a junior, isn't she, Millie Cousins? She's a very, very young rider.
Yeah, there's about 10 or 11 Brits over this weekend, and I think it's great that they're coming over to experience these races, and obviously they're getting stuck in. I think in the future for them to see these races now, it's only going to benefit them. The more insight they get into these kind of courses, they can go away back to England and practice different sessions in the cross season to come up to speed with these girls.
It must be slightly daunting, but also the fact that we know most juniors and youngsters are always like, I'm going to get out there and smash it and prove that I can compete with these riders. They're not generally very fazed by the big names.
No, definitely not. I think when there's a big group of them, especially that come over, they don't have any fear whatsoever, and that's great to see. Great to see the confidence improving all the time. yeah, just the more experience you can get of racing abroad, the better, I think, at this age.
Definitely. So anyone, Alicia Frank there, Katie Keogh just trying to close this gap down there. Ellen Van Looy. Ellen's not had the greatest start to the season, Ellen Van Looy.
No, normally she comes in absolutely flying, and maybe that has a reason to do with the conditions this year. It's been a lot more muddy early on. Ellen suited to those faster races. But yeah, it's hard to predict how someone's going to be every single season. Maybe she's had a bit of a different summer this year, tried things a bit differently. Maybe she'll come back up to the top of the field towards December, January time.
I think that was Ellie Dilks that was having a bit of an issue on the Koppenberg there. Annemarie Verst, the European champion, has she's looked super strong. If you were with us with Beringen, again we saw Annemarie really on it in Beringen on the Saturday, and then the Sunday not quite there, just a few riders. Britt Jochems now, and then this, we'll come back to that in a minute. This becomes the issue, doesn't it, Nikki, if you start to have to run up the Koppenberg?
Yeah, it's not ideal, especially the ground's obviously rock solid up there, so you're going to be slipping as you're trying to run as well. I think it's definitely easier riding than running up there, but if you can't get the grip, then it's going to be difficult.
So this is your next group, your chasers: Celine Del Carmen Alvarado, Ellen Van Looy, and Alicia Frank. So again, Alicia Frank, the Experza rider. So it looks like Verst is just pegging back her teammate little by little here, and you see the clock above the riders here, the banner. It's worth pointing out here, Nikki, as well, that the DVV Trophy is now a series that's run on a cumulative time rather than points. How did that change things when they brought that in?
It changed things quite a bit. You were obviously fighting for every single second. You'd never kind of back off in that last lap if there was a little group of you and start playing cat and mouse, because you knew there was another race to come in a couple of weeks, and every single second made a difference. Especially, by Lille at the end of February, you wanted to have as much time on everybody else as possible.
So riders here, you can see the cameras just getting a little bit fogged up here as having a little issue now. Yara Castelline just slides out there, and again just building that advantage. It's off the bike on that section.
Yeah, I think they're really going to have to start choosing whether they run or ride these next couple of laps, because you can just see there's less and less grip there.
And again, that becomes a... We were talking about this the other week, Jeremy Powers and I, in terms of cross shoes and mountain bike shoes. We have studs on the front, but there's some sections like this where you almost could do with some studs on the back to try and give yourself a little bit more grip.
Yeah, definitely. You want to try and get your heels in the ground on those bits, just to keep you upright, basically. You don't really want to be on your tiptoes, so maybe that's something people can think about for the future when they're designing shoes. Just put a few studs in the back there.
So just checking in a few of you chasers. It's an all-Italian chasing group here. Thanks for getting on board. Couple of questions on the forum for Nikki in terms of tyre pressures. Tyre pressures is a really personal thing, isn't it, according to riders' weights and conditions and that kind of thing?
Yeah, definitely it is. I used to go with like a standard tyre pressure, say like 1.5 bar, which is probably 22 psi, and then I'd go and ride the course, and I'd either go down or up depending on how much kind of grip I was getting on the corners. And it really is a personal thing, it's weight dependent. You have to really practice in cross sessions and every race to try and get your tyre pressures right, and then it becomes second nature.
There's your sprint section. Castelline from Verst and Arzufi. All the sort of time bonus and time sections will come into play in the general classification in this, as Castelline just gets to the bottom of that muddy descent into, you can see surface changes here. They've also brought in the fastest start as well in the DVV Trophy.
Yeah, I saw that. That should spice things up a little bit.
What you don't want to do though is to go for that fast start and then absolutely cook yourself and then end up losing a minute and a half.
No, definitely. Doesn't really work like that, does it, I guess?
And you just see Verst just coming a little bit, trying to make the most of those little slides by Castelline. In terms of the way this series goes, because the DVV Trophy, we keep it up there, the Super Prestige, the DVV Trophy, super important. But because of that cumulative time, does it mean that it changes the dynamic of the race? Because sometimes if you're sitting in 10th and you've got a race the next day, you might think, oh, do you know what, I'll ride for 10th place points. But because it's done on time, you can't. You've got to chase those seconds.
Yeah, you can't ever give up in a DVV. You've got to just keep fighting for those seconds. And, you know, one race, you might have one amazing day one week and then you might just feel absolutely rubbish the next week. So every second counts, and you kind of just have to bet on having like good consistent races every single round.
So here's your chaser, Celine Del Carmen, Alvarado, Castelline in Verst. So Castelline just still keeping that steady tempo. 11:53 was that first lap time. We're on lap 2 here, 16 seconds. Then we go back to Van Looy, Keogh, and Alicia Frank from Experza. And the camera just pans back to the next riders. So this rider again, Yara Castelline. Remember, she was in the lead in Boom when she went down quite heavy on that one, came back the next week. Again, just shows how gingerly the riders are having to take these sections. I suppose when you get to this point, Nikki, when you've got this advantage, do you then start playing around the calculated risk in your head?
Yeah, I mean, it's again, anything can happen on a race like this, so you do need to just keep your head down, keep pushing forwards. But obviously, she's aware that Anna Marie's not far behind, and I think on the technical sections, maybe Anna Marie's just got a little bit of a edge on Yara. So maybe we'll see them come back together in the next lap or so.
There's the other issue here. If you look at the soles of the shoes of both Castelline and Verst, because we're running through this muddy section, and then you're trying to get your feet in with like 5 tons of mud stuck in the bottom of your shoe.
Yeah, it's not easy. I mean, you'd usually wait till a flat section or something to like bang your feet on the side of the cranks, but it's not really like you can freewheel or bang your feet anywhere here, because you've just got to keep pushing that power down. So yeah, it is difficult.
In terms of gear selection as well, is this a race that you would change your gear selection for coming into it?
Yeah, for sure. I think a lot of the SRAM riders probably will have been changing their gear setup this morning. I used to ride on 40 chainring on the front with a 32 on the back, and then for this race I'd always go down to a 38 chainring on the front just to give me that extra gear or two to push on. But yeah, a lot of riders will be doing the same.
Oh, wind, the banner's down, the wind really getting up here. You can see the banner has come down. The officials, Ava Lechner, having to duck under that one. So that banner there across the road has come down. Our Zufi's been delayed as well, so they're trying to find their way through. Oh, what a disaster for the riders.
Yeah, an extra obstacle to add into the race. It's not ideal. I think they've got enough to deal with, to be honest.
Oh, definitely. So they just managed to get it out of the way now. But again, you're just losing fractions of a second on the top of a climb where you really don't need to.
No, you definitely don't need that hesitation in this race. You need to just keep your momentum, keep going forwards, and yeah, Anna coming over the course isn't ideal, is it?
Ava Lechner, we know from mountain biking. Is this again a good kind of course for someone again that's strong on the mountain bike like Lechner?
I think so. She's obviously good at climbing. She's strong and she's comfortable in those technical races. She always has a good race at races like Namur, over Riser. So I'm sure as soon as it ranged, then her confidence would have gone up and focusing on today.
So you've got Ellen Van Looy going through there, Alicia Frank just going through. Let's just bring you our top 10 as Castelline just keeps pressing on here. 1:05 is your gap, lap 3 of 4 we're on now. Anna Kay is your next rider, still riding within the top 10. Kim van der Stene here just making steady progress with Katja Blanca-Vas, the Hungarian rider, right behind her. And Katie Compton is the next rider. So van der Stene is riding in 10th here. Anna Kay sitting in 9th, so the Hungarian champion at 1:37. And then we go back. Is this looking now? The next rider here to Hooker. So Hooker is now up to 13th, and after that disastrous start, what a ride!
Yeah, that's a great comeback for her to get past all those riders and make up that much time on after just 2 laps. It's good for her, but I'm sure she's disappointed that she didn't have a better start, because then maybe she would have been near the front of the race.
And indeed, and the rider right behind her is young Millie Cousins. So Millie Cousins here in the Koppenbergcross, riding a phenomenal race. She's riding with Hirte Hooker. Here's your chaser, Anne-Marie Verst of 777. So this team, what a start to the year that they have had. Eva Lekla from Kreefin. Alicia Maria Azzuffi gets back onto Eva Lechner. I've got to say that the Italian Championships at the beginning of next year is going to be an exciting race.
Yeah, definitely. They're going to be battling away, aren't they? And yeah, you can see they're just like cat and mouse, and at the minute keep taking the lead and chasing those places in front.
So lap 3 of 4, Martin Smith checking in from Talking Devon over on Twitter. Thanks for saying hi. We got Maria Strakowski from Taiwan, Ricardo Souza checking in from Brazil. Thanks all of you for saying hi. There's Katie Keogh. No, we've got a lot of American fans here. So Katie Keogh, Katie Compton, Corey Coogan, Cesek, Rebecca Gross are the other American riders that are also in there today. So Keogh just making steady progress on this one. Azzuffi though pressing on here, really powering on this team. And Castelline, what a phenomenal start. She's just 22, is Yara Castelline. As we said, she's been a national champion as a youngster, so as a debutante and as a junior. Her results impressive so far. 5th in Bohm in the Super Prestige, 5th in Bern. And then 3rd on the Super Prestige in Heaton, then that win in Havre last week.
Yeah, that's brilliant for her, and she had quite a strong road season as well this year. I'm sure having Bart Wellens behind the team and Camille van den Berg, they're like great mentors for these riders. You know, they've been there, done these races, and I'm sure they'll be at the side of the course, shouting them on, telling them lap splits. Yeah, I think the whole setup's really great.
Yeah, we've seen previous weeks, Bart Wellens sprinting across the field from section to section. I mean, that sort of experience for young riders like Verst, Castelline, and Celine Del Carmen Alvarado is absolutely worth its weight in gold, isn't it?
Yeah, 100%. I'm sure as young riders, they were watching people like Bart on the TV, and they know what these riders have done, the races that they've won. So they'll be really listening to them and growing confidence every single week just from what they're telling them.
Okay, we've managed to get Jeremy Powers online, so we're going to go over to Jeremy Powers down there. Hi, Jeremy. How are you enjoying the day so far?
Hey, we're doing awesome, man. The racing and the environment here is fantastic. I'm watching Yara Castelline run through one of these downhill sections right now. The Anne-Marie Word is taking a bike exchange. It's been a fantastic day so far. Tons of energy out here. And yeah, I can run over there in a minute and show you guys some of the faces back of the people that are coming up. It's just so slick and really, really hard today. The weather came in and it's been on and off rain, which has just made the course extremely slick. And the tire combinations, pressures, everything had to change throughout the day.
The atmosphere and the rain and the things adding to it all the time, they're going to have to be, where you are, is a lot of communication going on between the riders and the pits in terms of more pressure, less pressure, different tires?
Yeah, right now I've been hanging out with Bart Wellens, watching him run back and forth with his riders, Yara Castelline and Anne-Marie Word. And he's basically been telling them to look at the green, make sure that you get there, get into the grass, you get a lot of traction and all that stuff. You don't want to be having problems with everything. I got people, hey, I got the Belgium out around me.
Okay, thanks, Jeremy. We'll try and check in with you a little bit later on. So Jeremy Powers there. Let's go back to your race. So Alicia Maria Azzuffi, it's just swinging backwards and forwards here between Eva Lechner and Alicia Maria Azzuffi. Nikki, unfortunately, wasn't able to hear the Jeremy Powers there. But Nikki, Jeremy saying that he's hanging out with Bart Wellens that we were just talking about. He's just instructing his riders, look for the green. Green is grip. Green is good.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's good kind of when you're on your own, because you can really focus on your own lines. Usually when you're in a group, you tend to just follow what everybody else is doing. But if they've got Bart telling them that at the side of the course, then they'll be aware of that and really focusing on looking for the green and looking for the grip. And that's what you need in a course like this. Obviously, every single lap, these conditions are changing. It's getting more slick. They're fighting to find that grip. So it's good to be reminded of it.
So just as well, just a little question. It's a good one here from Daniel O'Brien, just asking us, has Nikki got any tips for, hang on, Alex M, asking if Nikki's got some tips on how to avoid mud sticking to the bottom of his shoes, like WD-40 or that kind of thing. Is there anything that you can do?
Not really. The only thing that I used to do is actually used to cut around the side of my cleats. So basically, where the shoe would normally have the grips so you could run, I'd cut around them, so it just gave you a little bit of extra space between that and the side of the shoe, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
It's easier to show you.
So laps 3 and 4 here we are on, and your leader is Yara Castelline. Your chaser is Annemarie Verst. That is your order here at the moment. So for all of you fans around the world, I know we're getting a lot of appreciation for Katja Blanca-Vas, the Hungarian champion. Was also in action in Yorkshire as well. It's Lechner chasing down Arzufi here. And unfortunately, just having a few issues, Ellie Dilks on the Koppenberg today. It's for the youngsters, especially the juniors here, Nikki. These sort of days, it's always a learning process, isn't it? Because it's massively different going from your national trophy series to come over here to compete against the best in the world.
Yeah, definitely. It's a character building day for sure. And these are the races that they're going to remember. These are the races that they'll take away with them. And they'll come back next year and they'll know what to expect, and I'm sure they'll just be improving every year. But it is very daunting when you come from the UK courses. They are very different to the ones in Belgium. But I just think the more experience you can get as a young rider, the better.
Van Looy and Frank battling it out here for the next position. Alicia Frank, she had a win over in Great Britain in the National Trophy Series as well. On to the Koppenberg. You can just see Yara Castelline banging those shoes, trying to get rid of a little bit of that mud that you can see that she's just got onto on the bottom of the shoes here. She's just grinding out the climb and trying to get that gear selection right. Yeah, Annemarie Verst right behind her. We were kind of leading into a little bit earlier on, Nikki, in terms of double weekends, because we saw Annemarie Verst last weekend. Berrigan absolutely smashing it the next day, and these course tapes have just got caught up in there. Talita de Jong. Not happy about that one. So Talita de Jong not quite having, again, trying to come back into racing is Talita de Jong. And again, it's frustrating. We'll come back to that chat. And again, it's frustrating, Nikki, isn't it, when someone like Talita, she's coming back again. She's had a lot of health problems, a lot of injury problems and things like that, just kind of adding to the frustration.
Yeah, definitely. You don't really want tape getting wrapped around your cassette when you're kind of coming back to this level of racing. She's had a couple of years kind of out with different injuries, and obviously she won Worlds a few years ago, so that's always in the back of her mind, and I'm sure she's always trying to get back to that level. But maybe she will this season, and hopefully she has a bit of a smooth run, and you always need a little bit of luck in these races.
So last lap, bell lap this time. Annemarie Verst, you can see, just goes through there. So 21, Annemarie Verst at 21 seconds. Castelline into the pits for a bike change. So 4 laps here. What a day she is having. What a season she is having. Yara Castelline, her teammate, Alicia Maria Arzufi, just goes through next. So she's managed to distance herself just a little bit from Ava Lechner here. So our final lap, last lap. Verst now sprinting it in here. She wants a last ditch effort now. Bangs the shoes, tries to get rid of the mud on the bottom of the shoes. Alvarado is going to be our 5th placed rider. So Celine Del Carmen, Alvarado. Keogh is next, so Caitlin Keogh. So 5th, 6th place for Keogh, so she's having a good day here. Frank, it will be the next versus, and Katie Keogh from Cannondale CyclocrossWorld.com goes through next. Alicia Frank, she's having a good day for her, Alicia Frank today. But this rider, again, what a phenomenal start to the season. She is having Ellen Van Looy will be the next rider behind Alicia Frank here. So Frank goes through. Van Looy, so solid ride. This is the sort of day where she comes into her own. Hit the hooker, look at this. smashing it up the Koppenberg, goes past Kim van der Steener. If you weren't with us for the start, here to Hooker, took a tumble on the start line and has managed to just find a way back through here. There's Anna Kay. So Anna Kay, we've got Katja Blankevas, Katie Compton, keeping that rhythm, keeping that tempo. So Anna Kay still in 9th place here, and our Hungarian champion goes through in 11th, and then Hirte Hooker is the next rider behind them. Got to say, Nikki, the two riders here, the Hungarian Katja Blankevas from the Merida Marathon team, and then right behind her, Hirte Hooker, she's just coming back through the field like a rocket.
Yeah, she really is. Maybe it was a good thing that she had that crash first of all, because now she's got a little bit of extra energy for the last few laps. I'm not sure, but she's definitely got the grit between her teeth, and she's moving up the field well.
She is, definitely. So you can see our leader. So the wind, the temperatures today, the wind is blowing from the sort of right shoulder of the riders as they go up the Koppenberg, and then through these sections. It's blowing sort of, if you've got if you're going up the Koppenberg, the wind is coming right across the course from the right, which means as you turn right at the top, straight into the wind, and then it just, you can see the way it's field. But again, when you look so far this season, Nikki, in terms of the rides of Castelline, so calm, so mature, such measured efforts that she's making in these races.
Yeah, she looks a totally different rider this season. Her confidence is just right up there, and you can just tell she's at one with the bike, and she's comfortable, and she just looks in control this season. So it's great to see that. It's really good when she's been around for him, and just to see that progression.
So you can, Nana reversed now on this final lap. She's held her off Yara Castelline constantly. You can see, can't you, Castelline, when you're you've been in this position like Castelline quite a few times, Nikki, in terms of being able to just glance back, make those little, is it just a question of just making those little efforts, the little burns that you can make out of each turn to just keep that gap, keep that.
Can lose you the race, so yeah, you're just really trying to stay as calm as you can.
Katie Keogh, rather, sorry, get my Americans mixed up. Caitlin Copter just coming back. Keogh here for Cannondale Cyclocrossworld.com, just trying to get back up to Del Carmen Alvarado as well. As we said, this, if you weren't with us earlier on, the DVV Trofee, it's done.
Yeah, it's great for Yara.
And in terms of these riders, so Castelline, Verst, Azufi, the investment from Bart Vellens and the 777 team in just having this women's team, it's phenomenal for women's professional cross.
Yeah, you can just see year on year how much each of these riders are improving. You know, they've been racing each other for a long time, and it just things come together this year, and just having that support behind them, I'm sure that's really helping. Even just with training sessions through the week, I know they get together most Wednesdays and train as a team, and they'll be pushing each other all the time.
First, really chasing hard a teammate, and what Castelline's got to be careful of, again, those minute errors that can creep in when there's Bart Vellens at the side there, but just those minute errors that can creep in, because Verst here is still she's still within striking distance,
feeling that pressure, trying to not make mistakes. Meanwhile, Worst is just kind of got nothing to lose. She's all out and she's just going for it. You can see that.
So will it come down to that chase up the Koppenberg for the final time? Here's a little shot here of Celine Del Carmen Alvarado. Goes down through that section. Goes down again. That's the second time, I think, that we've seen her go down there.
Yeah, so easy to lose that grip on the front end, especially around those kind of tight corners with the off-camber.
Oh, Verst, little mistake there by Anna-Marie Verst. So that hands the line of advantage back to Castelline just a little bit. Oh, Castelline slides out. Look at the effort on the face of Castelline. Verst done the same.
Yeah, she's absolutely on the limit there, isn't she? They both are.
So this is a great battle. Verst pushes the course tapes, course markers to the limit there. So these two 777 riders, Anna-Marie first, they're within the, she's within striking distance now, but it's this would be a big gap to try and close before the Koppenberg. She would have to kind of make contact, would you say, Nikki, before she hits the Koppenberg?
I don't know, not necessarily. It depends what kind of speed Anna-Marie can take through those last couple of corners. Because, yeah, the Koppenberg, it's so long. I mean, it's not that long in distance, but it feels so long by this point of the race that anything can happen, really. So
there's your gap. Yeah, there's your gap from Yara Castelline back to Anna-Marie first. So the 777 rider just starting to almost lap a few riders in front of her now. The Koppenberg climb is not far away. Is she going to add herself to a big select group of riders throughout this race? It was first run back in 2002. Laurence Le Boucher was the winner, famous French cross rider. First again, really on the limit, chasing this one down here to try and catch her teammate. Naomi de Reucker is the rider right in front of her, so she's a lapped rider. Castelline chooses to dismount this time.
Yeah, she's trying to play it a little bit safe for this last part of the race. You don't really want to mess up now. You don't want to crash. That gap can easily come back together, so she's just trying to keep smooth and calm.
There's your third place rider, Alicia Maria Arzufi. So is it going to be a podium for 777, or can Eva Lechner give us one of those late race charges for Eva Lechner and try and pull back Arzufi on that climb? But Arzufi second place last year. It was onto the Koppenberg now. We're heading up towards a finish. And Castelline, that back wheel just sliding out there just a little bit there, Nikki.
She's really just got to keep pushing forwards. I'm sure she can see that finish line. She's just, yeah, it's you can see she's just trying to keep that weight on the back wheel there to keep the grip.
And now she's just emerging over the top of that climb first. Those really given her teammate a race. She's trying to close that down, but it looks like Yara Castelline is going to take her second big victory of the week. She starts the climb now, starts to level out as she heads towards the summit. She really has led from the opening lap here, has a little look around, shakes her head again, almost in disbelief. Verst trying to close the gap, but the camera angle just foreshortens it very slightly. Yara Castelline takes the victory here in the Koppenbergcross. Another phenomenal victory comes to a halt at the top, totally exhausted. Verst takes second. I think you can relate to that feeling there, Nikki.
Yeah, definitely. You're just so relieved when you're over that line for the last time, and you just think in your head, never again. But a few days later, you'll forget all about it, and you'll be there next year on the line. But yeah, that's a great result for Yara.
Phenomenal ride there from the gun. Anna-Marie Verst, you can see there, just getting a little bit of help at the summit. We're looking now for our third placed rider. Here comes Caitlin Keogh and Alvarado. They're behind these two. Lechner trying to close up to Arzufi, but Arzufi accelerates. It's going to be a 777 podium. Alicia Maria Arzufi, second last year, third this year. Lechner takes fourth place. What a battle between the two Italians. They are absolutely phenomenal, these two. Keogh gets herself in front of Alvarado. This is a good ride by Caitlin Keogh. She's steadily ridden her way through the field.
Yeah, definitely. I think Caitlin Keogh, she's really decided this year that she's committed to crossing Belgium. She's come over here early. She's racing all these early season races, and I think that's only going to benefit her in the weeks to come.
And it looks like Alicia Frank behind her. So Caitlin Keogh takes fifth place. Celine Del Carmen Alvarado is going to take sixth. It looks like Alicia Frank is going to take the next place, so 1 minute 20 between those riders. So Celine Del Carmen Alvarado there. Caitlin Keogh absolutely exhausted at the top. Alicia Frank is going to come in seventh.
There's no amount of training that can prepare you for this amount of pain at the end of the Koppenbergcross. Something special.
So Alicia Frank comes in. She takes 7th place for Experza. That's the best performance we've seen from her for a while. Ellen Van Looy, she will be satisfied with 8th. I think it's going to be Anna Kay that will cross the line now. In 9th place behind it is Anna Kay. Katie Compton in a bit of a battle with Katja Blanca-Vass here. Vass, is she going to get herself in front of Katie Compton? Anna Kay takes 9th. Can Vass get herself into the top 10? The Hungarian champion. What a ride from her.
Amazing. Yeah.
That's phenomenal, isn't it?
Definitely, yeah. This is one of the hardest cross races of the year. You don't get anything much more difficult than this. So for her to have that kind of result, it's it's super.
That's what's great about these races, though, isn't it? As well as riders like her that can just turn up, they can just get in here, and we start to see the new names that that are emerging, the talent that's coming through.
Yeah, definitely. Like I say, the more experience you can get in these races, the better. And yeah, these Belgian crosses are just so special. It's great that she can get a result here.
Hit the Hooker comes through from hitting the deck off the start line. She finds her way through into 12th. Kim van der Stene, last year's winner, crosses the line in 13th place. So just not quite again. So 3:17 is your time gap between those riders. So we'll see who's going to be coming in next. And the next rider to come in is Beth Crumpton. So Beth Crumpton's on the climb. Right, Marion Norbert Ribarola right behind her. So they've gone back to the camera at the bottom of this one. So Ribarola wrestling with the bike here. This will be a good result for Beth Crumpton. Here's Castellijn.
Hoe lastig was het onderweg, Jara?
Heel lastig. Ik was blij dat ik de laatste ronde kreeg, want ik zat helemaal dood.
Had je dan net iets verkeerd ingedeeld?
Nee, ik denk juist net goed. Ja.
Omdat je net overschot hebt aan het einde. Wat doet dat en wat betekent dat, die overwinning vandaag voor jou? Afgelopen zondag win je dan in Gaver, dat is een klassieker. Vandaag doe je het opnieuw.
There you have it. So our winner today, Yara Castellijn. There's some great performances in there today, Nikki. Castellijn, that was a really... her and Annemarie Verst gave us a really, really exciting race, didn't they?
Yeah, definitely, especially on that last lap. You didn't know whether Verst was going to come back to her or whether one of them would slip. It was a really good race, especially from Yara. She's obviously super strong at the moment, and that's great as well, looking towards the European Championships next week as well.
And in terms of that team, we touched on it a little bit about 777 and Bart Wellens and that team investing in women's cycling, and why wouldn't you? When those 3 riders, all rounding out a podium, that's pretty dominant. That kind of reinforces why they're doing it.
Yeah, definitely. And confidence grows confidence. They're racing with each other week in, week out. They're doing these training sessions together. I know they've been on training camps earlier on in August time. They know each other's strengths and they know their weaknesses, and they're just kind of battling it out all the time, and that's only obviously making them go faster when they come to the races.
And now we'll try and bring you the top 10 as soon as they pop it up. But as we said, we had it down. Castellijn, Verst, Arzufi, Lechner, Keogh, Alvarado, Frank, Van Looy, Kay, and Katja Blanca-Vass. That was the order across the line. If we get a confirmation of that, we will bring you that. In terms of our halftime show, so just to give you an idea, so the men's race starts on the hour. We'll be back about 10 to the hour. So we've got a little bit of halftime entertainment for you. So today we've got a little interview with Annemarie Verst. We've got Katie Keogh's pro bike and a little trailer for our podcast. Nikki and I will be back with you about 10 to the hour for the men's race, which starts on the hour.
Today, we're going to be learning all about Annemarie Verst. Now, GCN has tons of racing coverage over on the all-new GCN Racing channel. Live coverage, interviews, and features. We want to help you guys get to know some of the key riders and rising stars of the sport, and Annemarie checks both those boxes. We were lucky enough to be able to spend a day with her before the cross season officially kicks off. So make sure you guys head over to GCN Racing, subscribe so you don't miss any of the action. We're here today in the Netherlands to meet up with one of the most exciting riders in the cyclocross circuit, a young woman named Anne-Marie Worst, who is the former under-23 women's world champ, the current elite European champ. We're gonna sit down with her to hear about what she's got coming up this season and a little bit about who she is and where she came from. 39, yawning, Anne, with the dirt bike. Always a little nervous when we're going to someone's house.
Hello.
Hello! Anne-Marie, nice to meet you. Thank you for having us. Okay. So we're here in your home.
Yes, in Nunspeet.
Can you pronounce the name of where you are from, where you grew up?
We are in Nunspeet. It's a little village in the Netherlands. You slept in Harderwijk.
Yes.
It's the Veluwe it's called. It's a big area, and it's just a little village.
The north part of the Netherlands.
Yes.
I mean, for
little
me,
middle,
close to Amsterdam.
Yeah, it's for me just 1.5 hours, I think.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
So you've been racing, but also winning, because your first world championships as a under 23, I believe, in cyclocross, you won, and that was in Luxembourg, in Beals.
Yeah.
Yeah, and a friend of mine was, I believe, second to you, Ellen Noble. You guys had quite the duel there.
Yeah, it's a really excited race.
Yeah, that was an incredible race. I think
Yeah.
everyone was just slamming, just watching, and like in awe of all of the great battles back and forth. Like, it didn't happen until the last lap, which is perfect cyclocross.
Yes, it was really excited. And I tried to ride away in the first lap, but then I crashed, and then we came back together, and then Evie was also with us in the first few rounds. And then I rode away with Ellen, and then in the last lap I could ride in the inside of the corner, and then I could ride away.
So we're heading over to your training course where I presume you do laps and maybe, are you training with other riders there?
No, most of the time I train alone, but here, and if I go to cycles training, then I go to with other riders.
This is sweet, Anne-Marie.
Yeah.
Okay, I have to try to take time where I can. Oh, no. I think that you've had such a big year last year. I feel like winning the European Championships had to be an incredible feeling for you. Tell me about being European champion and what that race was like. I watched it personally, and
it was a really exciting race. I was going into because I knew I could win a race, but yes, I knew I've never had to expect it that I can win it. And the race was really excited. We were with I think 6 riders in front.
Yes.
And it was really fast scores with sand, part of sand and a forest. And every lap I knew in the forest I could ride away there. And I think one of the last laps I rode away in that forest, and then I had I think still 1.5 lap to go, and I knew the gap between the other riders was just 10 seconds. It was not really big, so I had to go full gas, and it was so nice to win the race.
And what about coaching? Do you have a coach that you're working with?
Yes, since this summer I have a new coach. It's a Belgium guy, Axel from the team. Cool. So I have a new trainer.
Very cool. And do you guys meet often? You guys see each other and he's yelling at you?
Yeah.
Go, Anne-Marie!
No, he's living in Belgium, so it's a little bit too far, but we have we're apping and we have contact with telephone, we're calling. So. Yep. Every day we have contact, so.
Excellent. What about other training that you're doing? Are you doing because a lot of riders we're seeing are in the gym, doing a lot of weightlifting.
Yes.
Also doing, of course, probably some running.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe with and without the bike.
Yes, now in the summer I just rode my road bike and mountain bike, but I think the last few months before the cycle season, I go to a gym and start with weights.
Yep.
And also then I start with running, but then just without the bike. I do it with the bike on the cycles training, but at home I just run without bike.
Yeah, that's better.
Because, yeah.
Yeah.
I like it, but
yeah. And do you like typically do like 2 workouts, or are you doing something like morning, evening? Are you doing
I like
everything?
to train in the morning.
Yeah.
And if I have to go to the gym or something, then I do that more in the morning, and then in the evening to ride on the bike.
Perfect. Yeah. Yeah, it's nice for the legs.
Like
to get the gym out of your legs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sometimes you can't walk normally.
Yeah, exactly. And so, where are the European Championships this year?
Italy.
Italy.
Which place I don't know, but in Italy.
Oh no.
Yes.
Your teammate,
My
Arzufi's
teammates,
hometown.
Yeah.
Oh man,
Yes.
that's gonna be. She's gonna be in like peak condition.
Yes, I think so.
You guys are gonna have to stop texting the week before, I think.
I think it's a hard fight.
No conversation.
No, it's gonna be okay.
What are you thinking about for this season? I think that you have probably a lot of ambition to do something different, but what would you say was your thing that you'd like to work on the most, and what are you looking forward to the most this year?
I think the things when I have to work on is I think the sandy courses, because I don't really can do that really good. But yes, last season I was really much on the podium, also in the World Cup, but I never won one World Cup. So I really want to win a World Cup next season. So that's really my goal for the next season.
You know, with a lot of the big names in women's cyclocross retiring, so we have. You know, obviously Katie Compton seems like she can go forever, but she's definitely has to be towards the end of her career. And we have Helen Wyman who's stopping, Nikki Brameyer is stopping. So a lot of the women that have been in the sport for a long time that have really won World Cups have sort of paved the way for women's cyclocross to be on this international scene with so much coverage and everything. And now your new generation is coming. So yourself, Ellen Noble, Evie Richards, your teammate Elise Arzufi, Carmen Alvarado, Lara van der Schat. I'm trying. Verdanschat.
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay. So all of these riders are really the new generation.
Yes. There are so many strong girls coming now, and I think it's going to good for cyclocross. It's really good for the sport. I think new girls and all new nationals. So it's really good, I think. For me it is, I think I know now the feeling that you can get if you win the race and if you win a really big race. And I really like it. When I wake up I see my jersey, and then there's a big motivation for me.
And how about inspiration? Like, is there something that you feel like is really inspired you to continue on? Or are there maybe riders that you're looking up to and trying to emulate, and emulate meaning like copy, but be your own person? So is there someone that you're saying like, hey, I really enjoy not only spending time and racing against this person, or if there's even someone in a different sport? I'm just curious if there's someone that's...
I think, maybe Marianne Vos is someone I really look up to, because I know she was a really good rider, but she had really a few setbacks in her career, because a few years ago, that was not really going well with her, and now she's coming back so strong. I think that's a really, motivation for me, and she inspired me really much.
Anna Marie, I finally get your name right. It's at the end of the video, but it's better late than never.
Yes.
Okay, thank you so much. American, you have to give a real clap. Okay, American handshake. Thank you for spending the day with us. It was really awesome to get to know you, to see where you train, and to learn more about you. So we wish you an awesome season with good luck and lots of victories.
Yes, I hope so. Thank you for the video, and I will see you this season.
Awesome. Thank you. And if you want more really cool cyclocross interviews and content, check out over here. And if you want to subscribe to GCN, click right in the center. So we're here at the Iowa City World Cup, and I'm with Caitlin Keough, last year's winner at this race. And we have your bike, which we're gonna go into and learn all about. What do you think about this bike?
So this is my Cannondale Super X. This is my 10th year riding with Cannondale, and this is by far my favorite color scheme and paint job, and I'm really excited to take these bikes over to Europe in a couple weeks.
Right, because you're going to be basing yourself there for the entire season. And American living and racing in Belgium, it is something that's pretty unique. Not a lot of riders are doing that these days. So you're excited?
Yes, I'm very excited for the venture, and it will be a good season, I think.
Yeah, well, we're excited for you. Can't wait to dig into this bike. Good luck today, and good luck for your season.
Thank you very much, Jeremy.
All right. Super X it is. This is the Cannondale cyclocrossworld.com team bike, and it is absolutely pristine, as the Cannondale cyclocrossworld.com team has become known for. The bike is immaculate. Its custom paint job with the white and the green matches their kit, and I have to say, it looks pretty good. This bike, Cannondale calls the boss of cross, but it has doubled up as a gravel bike and an adventure bike for many of the riders on their roster. So this bike's duked out with SRAM top to bottom. This is their all-new wireless SRAM Red AXS Grupo. It's got a single chainring up front, size 38. She's running a SRAM Red crankset. It's size 170, and she's opted for a 1033 rear cassette. It's going to give her a lot of range in a wide variety of conditions that she'll see out on the cyclocross course. It's also got SRAM's Red AXS rear derailleur, which has a built-in fluid clutch to be able to take up any of those bumps that the riders are going to see when they're riding off-road in conditions like cyclocross. Caitlin's running the Crank Brothers Egg Beater 11 pedals. These pedals are unique because they have no cage on them, which makes the mud clearing very unique and different from other pedals. It also has 4 sides to be able to engage the pedal in, so when you're getting on and off your bike in a cyclocross race, it's very beneficial. They're also hyper light. As a pair, they're only 175 grams. This Super X uses a seat post diameter of 25.4, which is unique. This bike, they say, has more flexion because of the smaller seat post. They're able to get more movement from the carbon fiber. Millimeters of flexion allow for a more comfortable ride. They're using Zipp's Service Course SL seat post, and they have a Fabric Ultimate Scoop seat on here with carbon fiber rails and a carbon fiber shell. Up front, the cockpit is all Zipp. They're using Zipp's Service Course SL stem, Zipp's Ergo SL70 bar, which is a short reach bar with a nice swoop, which would be good for cyclocross, so you've got that short stem and good handling. They've wrapped it with Zipp's Service Course bar tape. The Cannondale team uses Zipp's 303 carbon tubular wheels, which have famously been ridden to world championship victories with Wout Van Aert over the past 3 seasons. They have Vittoria Torino Mix 33 tires on here. These tires use graphene technology, and this is Vittoria's middle tire. They have a slick tire, a mixed tire, which is this middle one, and then a wet tire for the muddy conditions. The brakes on this machine are SRAM Red. They're using 6-bolt calipers and 140 rotors. The bike is also completely internally housed, making it look super clean. Okay, it is time to weigh this Cannondale Super X. Let's see what we come in at. 16 pounds on the dot. Okay, I don't normally do this because I think it's weird, but I have to say this free hub sounded immaculate. Let's see how it sounds. Pretty good. So that is Caitlin Keogh's Cannondale cyclocrossworld.com Team Edition Super X. I hope you guys liked this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. Let us know what you think down in the comments. If you want to see other pro bikes, check out over here. And if you want to subscribe to GCN, check out right there.
Hey everyone, it's Jeremy, and we're talking about the all-new GCN Cyclocross podcast. Yes, we have a podcast. It's all about international flavor on our podcast. We're doing our best to bring you the information from all around the globe. The history books don't go back far enough to know exact number of national championship titles that you have.
I can figure it out. I should figure it out because actually cyclocross is my youngest discipline.
I like that. All right, well, we'll put that somewhere. We'll find that out and put that on the Twitter account.
I just mainly miss her, you know. Just wish I do. Could you tell in the race? I was like, wait, I miss you. Why don't you slow down?
That wasn't the exact conversation I think you guys were having. I saw a bit of drool coming off you, and I saw her with her mouth wide open going as hard. But like your great friend that you helped bring up went on to win a World Cup, and you were the person that was chasing
I can
down.
take all the credit for her work.
That's
because
right.
then you're like, yeah, I did that.
My man Erwin Verwecken.
We used to ride a lot Saturday, Sunday for start money because that was the big part of our salary or what we earned. And that has changed. We see riders skipping certain races, also going on a training camp, usually early December. So the season is more in two parts compared to what we did.
Pretty much across the globe right now, we are seeing a ton of precipitation. There's literally mud in every single picture of cyclocross that I see on Instagram, no matter what country you're in. And it's pretty crazy to see all the precipitation and true cyclocross conditions coming out for the season.
What's even more impressive is when you say precipitation in live commentary. It's like when my daughter used to call it biscotti instead of spaghetti. I would never attempt that, especially live on TV.
So check it out wherever you get your podcasts from. Please leave us a review and subscribe so that you know every time we drop a new episode. Also, shoot us on social media so that we have your feedback. And as always, thank you so much for tuning in and listening.
Welcome back. We are just under 10 minutes away now from the elite men's race here on the first round of the DVV Trofee, the Koppenbergcross today. What a women's race we had. If that is anything to go by, we are in for a treat in our elite men's race. If you don't want to know what happened in the elite women's race, if you weren't with us and you want to go back and watch it later, I'm going to give you a 5-second warning. You can look away in 3, 2, 1, mute it and put your hands over your eyes. The elite women's race, though, what a race we had. And it was Yara Castelline. What a season. Not just her, but the 777 team. You can see her teammate Anna-Marie Wurst, the European champion, right behind her. And absolutely phenomenal race from start to finish. Again, she won last weekend as well. Again, that little tumble that she took in the Super Prestige in Bowman, again, you could just see how exhausted the riders are here in the Koppenberg when they get to the top of this one. Wurst took second, and again, even more impressively as well for 777, Alicia Maria Arzufi. They round out the podium 1, 2, and 3. Arzufi taking that ahead of her fellow countrywoman Eva Lechner. So 1, 2, 3. For the 777 team, and we had some really standout performances as well. There's your top 10. So Castelline from Wurst, Arzufi, Lechner takes that. Caitlin Keogh, you can see there, we saw that bike there with Jeremy Powell. Selena Carmen Alvarado, Alicia Frank, Ellen Van Looy, Anna Kay takes 9th, and Katja Blankavas, the Hungarian rider, takes 10th. Great to see her breaking into the top 10. There's your podiums. 9 sevens, never mind 777. So 777, 1, 2, 3, Castelline Wurst and Lechner. A great ride by that team. All about the men's race now. What a race we had last year. If you were with us last year at GCN Racing, you remember that this was he's not here today. He's back on Sunday in Rudevorde, but this was the only real day where Mathieu van der Poel had an off day last year. Let's remind ourselves of last year's edition.
Everybody, there's a lot of
Toon Aerts taking it last year. Super Sid, who will tell me in my ears as well in terms of the music choice of today's montage, especially that we're going to get some real Belgian club music soon. I am sure on that one. Can he take it again today? My co-commentator is Nikki Bramier, who has ridden this race many times. Nikki, we look at our replay from last year. Again, it was dry. Looking at that women's race, again, we've got something completely different today. If that race is anything to go by, we're in for a treat.
Yeah, 100%. And you have to remember that the guys haven't seen the course for a good hour and a half before the women's race. So the conditions will be very different to what they rode in a couple of hours ago. So you might see some bike changes early on, you know, some different pressures going on in the tyres. Some people slipping out in those early few laps and kind of not being as prepared as they thought they were coming into the race.
Now, the Koppenberg, the start, for anyone that wasn't with us earlier for the start of the women's race, we start at the bottom of the Koppenberg and we go straight up it. Again, does that, again, the start, would you choose something different and go for an early bike change to try and sort of maybe get some sort of advantage on the Koppenberg? Does that ever come into play?
Yeah, sometimes I did that myself. Actually, 2 years ago, I went for a little bit of a higher pressure just because you want a little bit more speed, well, as much speed as you can get on the Koppenberg. And then the pits are kind of as soon as you get into the field. So you can do that first bike change quite quickly and go for something a little bit lower pressure. So then you've got the grip for all the corners that are going to be coming up.
For us mortals, is it difficult to put into words the burn that you must feel when you, from that start, just going straight up one of the most iconic Flandrian climbs?
Yeah, definitely. I think it's worse just because you stood on the start line for a good, 3 or 4 minutes, and you finish your warm up, and then you're kind of hanging around a little bit. So it really is just bang straight into that initial effort up the Koppenberg, and you're completely on your limit as soon as you get to the top there. So those riders have then got to recover super quick to kind of keep the gas on and keep going and keep moving forwards.
I know, it kind of makes your eyes water looking at the way you all got up there. Let's have a look at the start list that we have ahead of us. Again, we're waiting. Mathieu van der Poel comes back in on Sunday, but I don't know what you think. Nikki's joining us for the first time, making her commentary debut today. But the likes of Toon Aerts, Van Torenhout, Isabit, Pidcock, the racing's been really exciting and open so far this season.
Yeah, definitely. I think the races so far have been super close. They've all been racing together right to the end. And maybe today might be a little bit different because the race could be possibly won by someone slipping out on that last lap and kind of the gap opening and up. It's the lines are changing every single lap. And you've got to have a little bit of luck today, I think, to win this race, as well as a lot of strength.
We're seeing a few riders just warming up on this one. As you said, you do your pre-ride a little bit earlier on, but then you've got maybe the under-23s and the women that go around the course, and all of a sudden you see, looking here at Elias a bit warming up, there isn't an awful lot of green left in the centre of those turns when you come to race.
No, definitely not. It is very different now to what they would have ridden round on, and you can see they're not slipping too much now, but obviously in the women's race towards the end, they were really struggling to keep the bikes up around those last few corners. So it's super slick out there. So I think that first lap, there might be some crashes that we're going to get to see.
What do you make of Elias a bit so far this season? I mean, we've seen him coming through. I mean, when we look at generations that come through in cyclocross, the last one was Mathieu van der Poel and Wout Van Aert. The next one coming through is really Pidcock and Isabit. Ellie just this season, over the course of the summer, just sort of physically seems to have just sort of matured into, as Helen Wyman said right back in he's gone from being a teenager to being a man now. Physically, that's the sort of transition that sort of takes place at this age.
Yeah, I think that's definitely what tends to happen. You see your rider up there for quite a few years in those under 23 ranks, and then they kind of need to find their feet a little bit when they get into the racing with all the elites, and then they kind of just have like a breakthrough year, and then they've got it, and everything seems to click into place. They've got the preparation right, they've got the training phases right, they may be working with different coaches. And then as soon as you start the season, if you're kind of winning straight away, that confidence just plays such a huge part in the races to come.
Tom Pidcock, you can see on the left there for Trinity Race. He's got a front row start alongside Corny Van Kessel. Ellie Isabit here from Pal Sales and Bingo. Tom and Ellie as both riders who could go really well on the Koppenberg today. Toon Aerts there, Tom Meyusen in the background, a former winner back in 2013. Michael Van Toren out there. Lars van der Haar had a great week last week. Lars van der Haar taking Nakavang Vorden and then taking second place at Havre. There's Laurent Sweek and then Jens Adams. The riders that have got a front row start position here. Nikki, for Tom, that could make a difference. Tom Pidcock's my tip for today.
Yeah, I think this is Tom's kind of course. You know, there's a bit of there's quite a lot of climbing in it. It's technical, and you know, he's got no fear on those descents, and he's got nothing to really lose and everything to gain on these kind of courses, these races. So, yeah, he's going to be up for going for that win today.
Look at the focus, the anticipation now of the riders, looking at those lights, the anticipation, and we are off and racing here at the Koppenbergcross. We go straight up the iconic climbs. I just run you through the other riders that are there. So the likes of Dan Suter, Jens Adams, Tim Malia, Tom Meyusen, Mikael Borosh. Nicholas Klepper's had a good start to the season as well. For US fans, Andrew Giuliano is there, Jonathan Östlund from Sweden, Yu Takanuchi from Japan, Tyler Cloutier from the US. The legend who is for British fans, Ian Field is in here as well, number 31, James Madgewick wearing 32. We've got Henrik Lunde Alrust from Norway. We've got Carlos Moreira from Luxembourg and Max Judelson from the US as well, from Rock Lobster International. So you can see here on the start, Ellie Isabit getting that centre of the road position. Tim Malia is right with him. Pidcock a little bit further back here than we would have expected after a front row start position.
Yeah, he's only obviously just started racing the last few weeks, and I think that kind of top end speed of that first initial start kick is going to come in the next couple of weeks, but sometimes it takes you a good few races to get that, and obviously Tom hasn't quite got that yet, so he's going to have to make a bit of an effort to get back to the front of the race, which is not ideal in today's Koppenbergcross, but yeah, I'm sure he can do that on some of the descents.
Can indeed, and I've just cursed him as well. Shouldn't do the GCN commentary prediction right in the beginning. Just giving him the curse of GCN right there. It's a famous thing. It won't have touched you yet, but yeah, I've just done that. My apologies to Tom already. I take it back. Take it back. Ellie is a bit straight in for a bike change, as we were saying.
Yeah, exactly. I think as soon as they kind of get onto the grass, they can feel that it's a lot slippier than it was in those pre-laps, and they've probably just got their tyre pressures a little bit lower so they can get that grip on the corners and off-camber sections to come. You know, these riders have raced these kind of conditions a lot, and they'll know as soon as they get onto the field what the kind of grip is like, what they're going to be getting. So that's the reason.
T-Sarts it is that's leading, so the younger brother, so Toon Aerts and T-Sarts both up towards the front. See who's got a good start here as well is Ian Field going through there in the fluorescent yellow and black stripes. So T-Sarts again, the younger brother, he's a real talent, isn't he, T-Sarts?
Yeah, definitely. I think they're both training a lot with each other, and obviously I think he just needs a little bit of time the next couple of years for that power to come in and that strength, and I'm sure you'll see him up there in the future a little bit more.
Look like Jens Adams potentially just going down on that corner. Aerts and Isabit leading out here. So T-Sarts has played an important role for his brother in the last couple of weeks as well. We saw him bringing his brother back towards the front. Lars van der Haar, there's Toon Aerts, Mikael Borosh going through. Corne van Kessel is the next rider going through there. Good start here as well from Kern van Dijk, wearing number 23. I think that we've got it up there as well in the front of this one. So the Koppenbergcross, for those riders that do start well. There you go through. There's Malia, Suter, Sweek, Pidcock, Meyusen. There's Ian Field going through your picture as well. So just again, quite ominous here, Nikki, already that Isabit and Aerts are just starting to just stretch out a little gap here very early on.
Yeah, they're wanting to just take control of the race straight away. They know that mistakes can happen in the blink of an eye. So, you know, if they do get a mistake on this first lap, at least they've created a little bit of a gap behind to kind of fall back onto. But yeah, they're just riding their own lines, riding their own race and looking forward.
Just a few of you checking in. Don't forget, get involved on your chat. If you want to put your name and where you're from, I'll try and give you a little shout out. A few of you asking where Trevor Adams asking any news on Wout Van Aert. I haven't. Wout just seems to be just got to gradually get over that injury. Do you think we'll see Wout this winter?
Yeah, I think so. I think it'll probably be obviously a lot later than expected. I think that crash really messed his leg up quite a lot, and he had to take a good chunk of time off. And you know, you can't just randomly just jump back into cross. You have to prepare for it, train for it. I was being coached actually by Wout's coach last year, Mark Lamberts, and you know, he really knows what he's doing, and I'm sure he doesn't want to rush Wout back into training too soon or into kind of any cross intensity before he's ready. So yeah, he'll be taking his time before he comes back.
And quite ominously here, some rain spots on that camera lens.
Yeah, it's just going to keep getting slippy. I think slippier as we go.
So Toon Aerts back there, so the gap is going. Remember, the DVV Trofee, if you weren't with us earlier, is worked on a cumulative time, so it's not a points-based general classification. Pidcock just gradually, steadily making his way back up to Toon Aerts here. Corny Van Kessel right behind him. So Toon Aerts with his brother just ahead of him.
Yeah, Tom's made up quite a lot of ground already there from the start, which is a good sign.
Can they get back here? So this gap was quite a small gap here, but Pidcock just goes past the Belgian champion. And again, from Pidcock and Isabet, they've been rivals for so long, haven't they, these two riders?
Yeah, definitely. They know how each other races, they know how each other rides, and if they're together, that you'll be able to see that, I'm sure. But yeah, hopefully Tom can get back up there.
Nice flag there of Toon and T-Sarts. Good to see the fan clubs are out. Thanks for checking in, Stuart and Maisie watching from the UK. Thanks all of you for checking in. Don't forget Matthew Vanderpool back this Sunday live. Colin Berry checking in. Mogens Gamst as well. Phil Wilkes. Big shout out to the Wessex Cyclocross League as well. So Phil from Setonia. The gaps here, and just T-Sarts just dropping off the back of Eli Isabet, kind of almost helping Tom Pidcock find his way back here.
Yeah, definitely. He has something to chase, and he's like the middleman, isn't he, at the moment? So if Tom can get across to him and then jump across to Eli Isabet, then that's ideal, really. But you can just see Eli just around these corners, he's just letting the bike go. I think definitely his gravity, his centre of gravity is obviously a lot lower than some of the taller riders, so that'll be definitely helping around these corners, just as you see Tom coming up to tie now.
Just a little shout out as well, Anatole Le Boucher as well, super fan, super chat. Thanks for that, always a boost. Thanks for your support. And Anatole, is any relation to Laurence Le Boucher, perhaps, who won the women's race for the first time? You never know.
Yeah, maybe. You never know.
Your leader, Eli Isabet, then Tom Pidcock, T-Sarts, Toon Aerts, then Corny Van Kessel as your order, then Lars van der Haar, Tim Malier is the next rider, then Mikael Boros. Isabet attacks this bank. We're heading back round towards the Koppenberg. Can the Trinity Racing rider find his way back? Pidcock gets over the top of that one, looking good there. The chasing rider, Toon Aerts, again. Toon Aerts has got this ability though, hasn't he? After that start, we see that sort of late charge that Toon Aerts kind of gradually does as the race goes on, almost just managing that gap and then banking on that late race effort that he has.
Yeah, definitely. It takes him a little bit longer to get warmed up into the race than everybody else and maybe just find his feet a little bit. But then once he's kind of in the swing of things, he knows the course, it's like that confidence just kicks in halfway through, and then he's really able to capitalise on that in those last few laps. So yeah, I'm sure we can see him coming a little bit more forward in the next couple of laps.
T-Sart's having a look, a little glance back as well, just so we can see the riders behind him. For Teese, that's the best start that I think I've seen from him at elite level. But again, on this opening lap, it almost looks like he's kind of overcooked it just a touch.
Yeah, definitely. It is so easy to do on this course, is just go that little bit too hard, that little bit over your limit in that first lap. And then it's really hard to come back from that if you've really gave it everything in that opening lap to try and get up there. You can see his brother just coming back now.
Onto the Koppenberg. Eli Iserbyt is leading. Tom Pidcock is just grinding his way back up to his arch rival. We've seen so many great races between these two riders on the under-23, stepping up to the elite. There's your last year's winner, the Belgian champion, Toon Aerts. Little gap back now to Lars van der Haar. We've got Michael van Toren out, Tim Maliet. And I think we're going to go over and check in with Jeremy Powers. Jeremy, how are you? He's there, the man here. They're going to go behind him in the background. The atmosphere is building. We've managed to drag you out of the beer tent.
Most of the riders are out here, and it's a heck of a day. We've got Michael van Toren, Lars van der Haar, and a bunch of the guys coming through right now.
How much of the conditions sort of atmospherically changed between the women's race and the men's race?
Yeah, it's changed a lot, actually. The weather has come back in, so now we're getting precipitation again. You can see the riders are starting to change bikes a lot. Even in the women's race, they were having to change every half lap and changing pressure a lot. I was hearing as low as water pressure.
In terms of predictions, I'm going to throw you under the bus already. Who's your prediction?
Eli Iserbyt looks very strong today, with so much climbing. It's hard to say. I have Ian Field go by. A bunch of the riders have snot and spit coming off of them. This course is absolutely insane. It's so hard to do track. This is the first time I've ever seen it with these conditions out here. So, yeah, it's a guess, but I have to say Eli Iserbyt is looking very strong.
Okay, we'll check back in with you a little bit later on. Enjoy the racing. Jeremy Powers is over there. We're pushing it here on GCN Racing today with our live broadcast. We've got Jeremy Powers in the field, trying to bring you some reports. So Pidcock and Iserbyt just make contact with each other now. Tom Pidcock didn't get a great start. And this now takes this rivalry up a level now, doesn't it, Nikki? From under 23, you get to elite, and now there's a super amount riding on these.
Yeah, you know, Ellie started the season in America early on, and you know he's been controlling all these races, and now Tom's come along, and yeah, they're going to be pushing each other just like we're seeing Matthew and Wout last year, I'm sure. You can see it already. You know, the mind games coming into play, and Ellie will know who's there, and Tom will be looking for any kind of weaknesses that he's got.
This should help Toon Aerts as well, because Iserbyt will look at Pidcock and be, seriously? And this might help Toon come back.
Yeah, for sure. You might even see Toon just go straight past them and you know, attacking a couple of laps just because he knows that they'll be doing that. He knows that they're similar ages. They've been super competitive the last few years, and maybe he might be able to capitalise on that today.
Michael van Toren had a great race here last year. Lars van der Haar. Lars, I don't know what you think, Nikki, but Lars looks a little bit like his old self in the last few races.
Yeah, definitely. I think he won Nat van Weerden a couple of, I think it was last week he won there. And Lars is super good on the sandy technical courses. You know, he always used to help me with like lines and everything before the race and tyre pressures. He knows what he's doing. So yeah, I think we can see him improve in every race.
Tom Pidcock and Eli Iserbyt, they went toe-to-toe in many a championship. Tom Pidcock, the British champion, of course, the world under-23 champion. Also, he gets to wear that elite British jersey. A lot of the under-23s just now stepping up to elite level. Pidcock's doing the right thing here, just sitting back.
Yeah, he's sitting back, but obviously just sat there waiting, putting pressure on Eli maybe to make a bit of a slip up or something that he can take advantage of. But he doesn't really need to push on at the moment. He can just sit there and recover from that first effort he made on that first lap when he had to come back after a bit of a bad start.
Into this section, Elizabeth goes wide. Again, looking at
that was a good line by
Tom. I was listening back to say the two different lines there between these two riders.
Yeah, Tom going on the inside and Ellie going on the outside.
Elizabeth though gets a bit of a gap here on that section. So the inside line there, Pidcock went wide, cut across the corner, looking for that green, looking for a bit of grip, and it's given Elizabeth just a few meters advantage. He was, on his post-race interview last week, Elizabeth was saying as well in terms of the instructions from the team management that were saying, you've gone too early, you need to just kick back a little bit, because an hour, especially on this sort of course, if you're really gassing it from the beginning, you have got to measure effort, even for Elizabeth.
Yeah, definitely, and it's just that little bit of tiredness that can force you to make mistakes in them last few laps. So I'm sure he's got Mario de Klerk, super impressive rider in his time, and he'll be giving him details of what's happening behind, to back off or whether to push on. He'll be in the pit shouting instructions to him, which is going to be really important today, especially.
A few little dabs here and there for Pidcock. So Elizabeth just riding the high line on the grass here. On these sort of off-canvas
you can
sections,
see him getting the grass.
Yeah, the off-canvas sections here, Nikki, sometimes it's better to just try and get as much at the top and give yourself as much drifting room to the right as you can.
Yeah, definitely. In off-canvas sections, the faster you can go into them, the better that you're going to come out of them, basically. As soon as you start putting your brakes on, getting a bit nervy, your bike starts to go everywhere, and that's when you tend to crash, basically. So you want to try and keep your speed as high as possible.
Your two leaders just asking, Matthew Fletcher asking, which position is Tom Pidcock? He's second here at the moment, so your British champion there is Tom Pidcock. A lot of you fans out there, Elizabeth Pidcock and Aerts, the Belgian champion. Looking at the way things have been so far, Toon Aerts, these guys going to be they're going to be wanting that European Champions jersey that's coming very soon.
Yeah, 100%. I've not actually raced on that course before, so I'm not exactly sure what it's like. But usually in Italy, the courses are really fast and bumpy, and the ground's usually quite hard. So, it could see a big group of riders going for the win there.
Out of that corner, again, not a huge gap here. You can see Elizabeth just sort of throttles back just very slightly. A few of you checking in. Richard Simone from Quincy, Massachusetts. Just checking in. Mike Jackson also checking in as well. I know a lot of you might be watching at work, so I do try to get not too excited, as I tend to do quite a lot, to not bring awareness that you're watching at work. Hope you got your headphones on. Toon Aerts out of that corner, just kicking on here. These two riders, Pidcock just finds his way back. Little slide there, just controlling that slide. Michael Van Toren out, Corny Van Kessel, Lars van der Haar and Tim Malia. That is your order at the moment. Looking good here at the moment.
Yeah, it looks like Elizabeth's just got the edge on Tom on a few of those technical sections and maybe picking a few better lines than Tom, but that could also be because Tom was just having to follow on the first lap, whereas Elizabeth had a free run of where he wanted to go, and he could see the grass coming up, whereas Tom was just chasing and trying to get up there.
That head-on shot there, Tom, he looks he looks very controlled and very measured this year. He looks like he's really developed sort of that mature patience that you need at elite level. Whereas as a youngster, you're kind of just going in and you smash it and hope to hang on. But for an hour, when you're up here against the best of the best, you've got to learn that patience, haven't you? Yeah,
definitely. It's about staying calm, because if you're flat out, just for the 45 minutes, then you're more likely to make mistakes, whereas if you're aware of other riders around you, what they're doing, and you're as calm as can be at first, then you're going to save energy for those last couple of laps when it really matters.
On to the Koppenberg. 9:57 was your lap time the previous time. Up here, Pidcock just from side to side behind your leader, Elizabeth Toon Aerts. just trying to find his way back on. Again, you can see the amount of dirt and leaves and mud on the soles of the shoes of the riders as they come out of that bottom section. Try and clear the shoes. Michael van Toornout, Corne van Kessel, Lars van der Haar, and Tim Melier are all on this climb. This looks already on the early stages. It could come down to a 3-rider race between Iserbyt, Pidcock and Aerts.
Yeah, definitely. I can see Aerts getting on maybe this lap when he goes over the top of the climb and then maybe back off a little bit on the descent. Then it's his opportunity to get that back up there. But the other two maybe look a little bit stronger than him on the climb, so we'll have to see.
Aerts goes through at 11 seconds, so a lot of the camera angles foreshorten the gaps very slightly. Do you think Pidcock might, again, need to look at the tyre choices and things here, looking at the advantage that Iserbyt's getting on certain sections?
Possibly, but I can imagine a lot of these riders now on mud tyres. I don't think many will be on intermediates. You know, you need that grip, and you also need the mud to be coming off those treads to get as much grip as you can. So kind of typhoon choice or, you know, those intermediate tyres wouldn't be amazing around here. So I think it'll just be maybe more about getting a clean bike and getting a bit of a lighter bike for these hills.
Your order, so Mewson, Adams going through, then Melier is still in 9th place. Dan Suter is your 10th placed rider. For international cross fans, Boros goes through there, the Czech rider. Boros, Pidcock, it's nice to break up the flags a little bit with some new nations.
Yeah, definitely. We need some riders to get in between a couple of them Belgians, don't we? So in the women's race, we've obviously seen a lot of different nationalities there. In the men's race, not so much, but yeah, hopefully we'll see it split up a little bit in the future.
A few of you asking in terms of the weather forecast. Bob Ferguson just asking what the Fahrenheits and things are. In terms of the weather for the riders today, it was 11 to 13, 52 to 55 Fahrenheit. A bit windy as well, 16 to 20 kilometres an hour wind and rain forecast through the afternoon. Iserbyt and Tom Pidcock. Iserbyt really pushing Pidcock on these sections. The man that really has been the revelation of the season so far. Nikki, Mathieu van der Poel, the interviews that he's been giving this week, we're going to see him on Sunday. He's hoping that he's going to get some competition from Iserbyt. What's your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, that'd be great to see, wouldn't it? You know, he was a level above everybody last year, and if these riders have really kind of stepped up this season, and then there's a big group of them fighting for these podium places rather than Matthew just out on his own, I think it's just going to be it will just be amazing for the sport, really. I think people want to see a race, they want to see close racing, they want to see different nationalities, and I'm sure that's what Matthew wants as well. You know, he wants to be pushed, he wants to be on his limit, so yeah, let's keep our fingers crossed.
Iserbyt just stretching that gap over the British champion from Trinity Racing, right behind him. You can see all the time, just testing all the time. Tom Pidcock attacking each section. In terms of looking at this race, when we've got Jeremy Powers here, got Magnus here, and Helen's been here. Nikki, in terms of when you're in this situation, pro riders all the time, they talk about riding against the course rather than always reacting to what's going on around you from the other riders.
Yeah, especially if you can just follow your own lines, you know, you're the one looking ahead, you know, you can't really be too focused on who's doing what around you, because that's when you lose your concentration and then you can end up hesitating, which can cost you the race. So you really need to ride in your zone, in your head, and know what effort you can put out rather than focusing on somebody else's, because yeah, if you race to somebody else's kind of effort level, you could just end up blowing by two laps time and then following their lines, and that might cost you the race.
You see Iserbyt just having a little glance here. Iserbyt is very instinctive when you look at the way he rides, the little glances back, where we've seen him running away on running sections so far this season. The little glances that you have to make to just kind of test your opponent out all the time.
Yeah, that's it. I think it's definitely psychology that comes into play there. I think him just having a little glance back is kind of saying, you know, there's a gap there, I can see it, I know that I'm putting you under pressure, He's just quite aware of what he's doing and the way he's doing it. But that also shows a lot of confidence and obviously shows he's in great condition to do that.
If you're just joining us today, welcome aboard. So we've gone through, Isabit went through the end of lap 2 on 18 minutes and 44 seconds. Your solo leader here from Palshausen Bingo, Tom Pidcock from Trinity Racing. The British champion is the rider in second place, Toon Aerts from Telenet Baloise Lions, the rider behind him. This is the Koppenbergcross, the first round of the DVV Trophy Series. The Koppenberg, a lot of you are asking. Let's have a little look at this before we get to that one. Little slide there, these little minute errors that can creep in and on these off-canvas sections. The Koppenberg, it averages, from according to source, about 10.2% average. And Nikki, it goes out over 20% in its steepest sections, the Koppenberg.
Yeah, and you can definitely feel that, especially after a lap or two in your legs. You're just trying to put one pedal rev over the other. Really, it's a really difficult, hard race. This one, it's a race for the strongest rider, but also for the most technically aware rider, and especially in conditions like this, you can't really explain how tough a Koppenberg is after all this as well.
And this is, if anyone wants to come and watch a cross weekend, this is quite a good one, isn't it? You get that little day off in between to go and do something, and then go to Sundays.
Yeah, definitely. And all the Belgians, like every 1st of November is basically a Belgian holiday, so you get a lot of people come out and watch these races, and yeah, they can make a weekend of it, have a day off in between, and then come out for Rue de Vorde on Sunday, and the races aren't far from each other either. So especially for a lot of the Brits and different nationalities to come over, it's really worth it.
Pidcock almost back with Isabit. Again, he just those little throttles that he makes, those little accelerations. But the rider, you can see there, that Red Bull helmet that he's got. It's important for him. Wout Van Aert and Pauline Ferrand-Prévot, they were the sort of real first riders that we saw with the Red Bull helmet. They're quite iconic through all sports, aren't they?
Yeah, definitely. You can see they're wanting to put a lot more effort into cross, and you can see it's a bit of a different kind of sport to road and mountain biking, and they see the potential in it, and yeah, you can tell they're getting more involved with the sport, which is a good thing.
Nicholas Klepper there, just sliding out again. It just shows off camber. You're just sliding with style a lot of the time.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, if you go down, you have to make a bit of a show of it, don't you? You can't just fall down.
Maximum slideability. Again, Isabit in these sections through here just opens up just a small advantage again over Tom Pidcock. It's sort of 25 meters all the time. Pidcock just again trying to control the gap up to the Palshausen Bingo rider. Down there, just hand-sling off that one. That's where the shoes are just filling up, isn't it? That little bank. It's quite a cruel little section.
Yeah, every time from when they go on the grass and they're having to run around that last corner before they get on the Koppenberg, their shoes are just going to be totally stacked with mud. So for them actually to get back on the bikes, clip in and put the power down is quite an effort in itself, and you almost just have to just ride not being clipped in, which isn't easy.
Ellie Isabit, Tom Pidcock trying to find his way back. It looks like a race between these two. They're trying to hoping that Tom Pidcock can stay with Ellie Isabit. It'll be great for a sprint between those two riders. We're going to jump back over to the Koppenberg and join Jeremy Powers. Jeremy, this is emerging to a great battle between Pidcock and Isabit. You're right on the climb. How are they looking for you as they go past? I think we just lost him there. Oh, you just love live TV. Love live TV, don't you? Everything's hunky-dory until you go to them, and then it just drops out. Don't you love modern technology? 7 seconds back to them. And Isabit, just a 7-second advantage now over Tom Pidcock. We're just willing Tom to get back because we need a good battle here for the rest of this race.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I think Tom's a real hard one to read. You can't really tell what he's thinking, or he doesn't really. He has quite a poker face when he's racing, so you don't know whether he's just taking it a little bit easier to save that energy for the last few laps and ride his own lines, and then he's going to put in one big attack, or whether he's suffering. You just don't know.
Michael Van Aert has moved himself up to 4th, so he's taken that position from Cordy van Kessel on the last lap. Toon Aerts is sitting at 33 seconds. Not going to be today. This for him, he was when I interviewed him last year, he was this was his biggest. He felt such an important victory. It's such an iconic race, this one.
Yeah, it really is. It has so much history to it, and you know, if you're stood there on the podium holding that cobblestone, it's just an achievement, and you would never forget winning here. It's just, yeah, the atmosphere and everything is just something really special.
He looks like he's starting to build this gap now. He submits. It was 7 seconds at the top of the climb. Looks like it's opened up. Going through the next rider there, Dan Suter is still in 10th. Mika Boros is having a good day today, the Czech champion.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's almost like a time trial effort today. Everybody's just on their own, just battling away, battling against the course. You can't really ride on anyone's wheel. You just have to kind of just, yeah, keep so focused on what you're doing and try and make the least mistakes as possible.
He's cutting a fairly despondent figure here, Klepper, isn't he? We saw him go down there and just slid out, and it looks like he's almost broken his left lever there.
Yeah, maybe. He probably just crashed out in a corner and then that's just snapped or something. I'm not sure.
Again, that's the thing about cyclocross, isn't it? When anything can happen, a 10, 15, 20 second gap where a puncture, a slide out there at the wrong time on one of these off cambers, you can put as Tom Pidcock did it in Berringen last week, where he went down, the bike went down gear side, he bent his gear hanger and he had to go all the way around the bottom of the course, up the climb in top gear before he could actually get a bike change.
Yeah, you have to stay so composed in cross and just be able to adapt to any situation. You know, the course is constantly changing, riders around you are changing, some are just on the limit, some kind of end up blowing up towards the end, people making mistakes. There's so many things that can happen very quickly that you just have to be able to react as fast as possible. And that's, I guess, what's the beauty of cross, is you just never know what's going to happen right until the very last moment of that they cross the finish line.
They get little rain spots again on that camera lens as they go through there. Here's your third place rider, Toon Aerts, not having not quite on the form that he was last year when he took this one, and it was the only day really when Mathieu van der Poel had a total off day last year. And a few questions, yeah. Nikki, what's your take? When we look at Koppenberg, we look at the DVV, and we look at Super Prestige. What's your far as Michael Van Aert tries to get back up to Toon Aerts? What's your thought on the proposed new setup for the World Cup?
I honestly just don't think it's good for the sport at all. Like, having 16 rounds of a World Cup on back-to-back weekends, it's going to end up just killing out all the other series that have actually spent so many years building up the sport. You know, those opportunities for young riders to come over and get involved in all these smaller races, and, you know, for different riders to kind of really focus on these different series, it's just going to end up killing all that. And I think a lot of different sponsors will end up pulling out, you know, and even for the younger riders, a lot of them have to race in national kit, so maybe sponsors wouldn't be as interested in sponsoring teams because they wouldn't be getting their logo on a shirt in a World Cup every weekend. They'd be, yeah, just in the national kit. So yeah, I really don't think it's good for the sport.
So we will see how that pans out. Quite a few questions over on the forum for you, Nikki. There are a few people asking how your coaching's going as well.
Yeah, actually I'm really, really enjoying it. It's so nice to actually give something back to the sport, and, you know, I have a lot of experience and a lot of years doing different disciplines, and just to kind of help those younger riders come through. It gives me a lot of like happiness and fulfillment that I'm still part of it and I can still help people. It's I'm really enjoying it.
Great battle now. Michael Van Aert had his again breakthrough season, a breakthrough win a few weeks ago. He's having a fairly good start to the year. Michael Van Aert just controlling the slides here between these two, Pausaus and Bingo, telling at Valois lines, the battle at the front, Elisabeth and Tom Pidcock. Can Pidcock get back? They both had a slide on different parts of that off-camber section there. Aerts there, just skipping along, goes past Michael Van Aert. Oh, Pidcock's down
you can
here.
just see how these off-cambers, definitely getting trickier, isn't it? You can see on the off-cambers they're just losing grip and there's not much green grass for them to go for anymore.
Few of you well in terms of I can't find it on my chat now, in terms of the pro riders, seeing many riders running the one-by setups, or do you think, what's your take? Do you think we need the 2 chain rings at pro level?
I think it's a weird one. Some races I think it benefits you having a single chain ring on the front. Other times it'd be good to have the option to have a bigger ring and a smaller ring, especially on those flatter, faster races when you want to go between the gears. It's again personal preference, I think, but there's definitely a benefit in having it on the right kind of course.
Do you think as well with the one-bys, we see Elisabeth here just attacking this climb, do you think sometimes with the one-by, because you know, growing up you come from, like, when you look at track cycling where fractions of an inch can make a difference when you've just got that one chain ring at the front, do you think again with minute details when someone that's running a 2-by setup has got maybe an inch or half an inch bigger in terms of the gear that they can ride, it's those minute fractions at pro level that you're missing out on almost?
Yeah, it's obviously you get given these things by sponsors, so you have to use that setup, but I'm sure different riders would have different opinions on those group sets. Some riders prefer the one chain ring, others prefer to have the 2 to change between, especially when you need a few extra gears. But yeah, you just have to get used to it, and there's always different gear options that you can choose with the one chain ring at the front, so it's just about learning and doing things a bit differently.
Elisabeth runs that section, trying to get the mud out the bottom of the shoe, so you come down that little bank, then we turn right onto the Koppenberg for the next climb. Elisabeth attacks the climb again. The rider's just starting to get pulled now on that 80% rule, and again he's just starting there. There's Tom Pidcock now peering out of the bottom corner. He's a bit Pidcock trying to find his way back. He's had a good season on the road as well, has Tom Pidcock. Great to see these 2 young riders going up against each other here at the elite level in cyclocross.
Yeah. It just shows Tom's character, the way that he's been able to come back from that big crash at Tour of Flanders and get himself back up. And
on the podium, Elisabeth was 7th last year in this race.
I was reading an interview with Toon saying that his power numbers are all higher this year, and that just shows the level of Elisabeth at the moment. I think he's just improved so much. It's not really like Toon's gone backwards, he's still improving, but yeah, Elisabeth is just really on form at the moment.
I suppose when you go away over the summer, and for a lot of some cross riders, as Corny van Kessel and Lars van der Haar go through in 5th and 6th, some cross riders, they'll see each other on the road or in mountain bike racing, but it must be that when you come into a new season, that anticipation and almost that worry that might creep in. Have I done everything right? The changes that I've made to my bike, my position, my training, have they paid off?
Yeah, for sure. It's first cross race of the season is always a bit of an unknown, and you're going to get
see this banner. We'll see if they put the clock on us. Gives us a kind of half lap time split. Remember the DVV Trofee, all on a cumulative time. They've now introduced that fastest start, so the clock starts ticking over the top of Elisabeth. Michael Van Aert now starting to put some time into Aerts now. This the Pausaus rider.
Yeah, he tends to go well on these kind of climbing courses. He's obviously got good condition at the moment. He's mud, so yeah, maybe he'll be making his way up a little bit more to Tom in the next couple of laps.
We see quite a lot as well. You look at this course. We look at Beringen last week, where it was just up and down the climb. Some riders, I remember Abby May Parkinson tweeting afterwards saying it was a little bit mountain bike. It had a very, very, very long descent. But we're so used to courses, aren't we, where they bring in a truckload of sand. We have our planks. You've got a bunny hop. The Koppenbergcross, like this one, it's just using
the obstacles in or anything. It's hard enough as it is, and it's challenging enough for the riders without adding any planks in or anything. So I think it's good to have a mixture, because different courses suit different riders. So that's when you see different people on the podiums. But yeah, Koppenberg, it's not really, nothing else is needed for it to become any more technical than it already is.
Pidcock remounts, that's your second place rider. There's gaps now between our first and second place riders. Remember, put it in your diary for Sunday. We are back live at Rue de Vorder. The return of Mathieu van der Poel. What can this man here do against the big man? He's looking forward to some battles with Eli Iserbyt. Looking at the way, it's $1 million question here, Nicky, but looking at him, he's been phenomenal so far this season, hasn't he, Eli Iserbyt? And he's been putting some good time into everyone else around him.
Yeah, 100%. With the sand pit, a lot of back into some planks, so it'll be a different kind of race. But yeah, it'd be great to see a little bit more closer racing between him and Matthew, and hopefully Tom and a couple of others. So yeah.
Let's see this rider. What a start to the season he is having. That's pretty much that he has so far. 100% record in the World Cup so far. His performance in Bern as well was absolutely phenomenal. When you look at his season so far, second in the Etiaz Cross in Bern.
How the season's so long, it's going to be interesting to see how his form goes over those coming months, whether he's peaked a little bit too soon or whether there's still room for improvement and he's just in the flow of what he's done in the summer. But obviously what he has done in the summer is really paying off now, and he's got that right. But yeah, it's you can just see the confidence there, can't you? He's just totally in the flow of what he's doing. He's got it under control.
And it's just about, right, again, we always say, just riding your own race, isn't it? When he gets out in the lead like this, just tackle the course and just ride your own race.
Yeah, he didn't seem too concerned when Tom was there. He just kept kind of looking at his lines, looking at what he was going to do, getting out the saddle when he needed to. He didn't start making too many mistakes when Tom was there, so that just shows the headspace that he's in.
Toon Aerts getting to that point in the race now where we expect that late. And he plays back. And for new viewers here, Nicky, for people watching cross for the first time, this is what happens. This is why we love cross, isn't it?
Yeah, this is exactly what we were talking about earlier. Anything can happen, and obviously Tom has just made up about 10 seconds in the space of a very short amount of time, just by Iserbyt just having a bit of a problem with his gears there. Obviously a lot of mud getting stuck in his rear met probably, and grass, and not being able to get the right gear that he wants. I think definitely having the single chainring helps a lot. You never really get a drop chain or anything with SRAM, with the one chainring on the front. So yeah, obviously Tom's put himself back in the race there.
Now they're back into it, a mechanical one. So as I say, that's cyclo-cross. If you're new to the sport, if you're not, again, apologies. And again, I just want to apologise for some of the stream quality as well. A few of you are having problems today. The guys are trying to sort that out. My apologies for that. We now have a real battle on our hands, though, between the Trinity Racing rider, Tom Pidcock, the British champion. Oh, and again, slow bike change there as well for Eli Iserbyt.
Yeah, I think he was just telling his mechanics there what was wrong with the bike. You have to try and be quite clear when you're racing and let your mechanics know what's going on, so they can fix the problem. I'm not sure how many bikes he's going to have in the pits, maybe 3 or 4 bikes, but you need them all to be working as they need to be.
And when you're looking at this, that the coming back like that, cross is so different to the road as well, isn't it? For riders like Pidcock coming back into the race because of that sort of issue. That's just that's racing, isn't it?
Yeah, that's racing and that's cross, and these riders know that. And just Tom having closed that gap now for something that's gone wrong with Eli Iserbyt's bike is probably also going to pick his confidence up a little bit and think, yeah, there's not many laps left, I can do this, and take the race on again.
Now got to completely gas it now. Isabit and Pidcock together. They're 49 back to Van Toren out. Aerts is at 58. Lars van der Haar is at 124 in 5th. Corny van Kessel just grinding it out on the climb. Tom Miersen is the rider right behind him for Corendon Circus. Miersen, after that battle with Malir, who's behind him, the Iceman. Tom's having a solid year as well, Miersen. I've always been a big fan of Tom.
Yeah, technically Tom is one of the best riders there is. He just lacked a little bit of that power the last couple of years and struggled to find form. He was an amazing talent as an under 23 and coming into the elites, and then he kind of just plateaued a little bit and maybe has switched things up again this year, and it's moved his condition forwards. I think sometimes you kind of get in a bit of a headspace where you think, what I've done the last few years have always worked, I'll keep doing it, but it's only when you stop and you change something that you actually move forward. So maybe that's what he's done.
Mikkel Borosh going through in 10th. Thanks for bearing with us on the stream. The guys have been working hard to fix that one. So thank you for bearing with us here on GCN Racing. As we said, we bring the racing live and free. We bring you so many races this series. If you haven't seen, we have DVV, we have Super Prestige, we have Etias, and we have the Reykjavik series, or the Sudal Classics. Busy times coming up. We also have the World Cup to certain territories in the world as well. But we have, through that little issues that you were having, Tom Pidcock and Eli Isabit now, and Isabit in the lead. He would have thought he looked in control, wasn't he, Isabit? He thought he had that one.
Yeah, definitely. And I think maybe Tom had changed his pace a little bit, had backed off because he maybe just didn't think that he'd be able to get Isabit back. And maybe Tom's got that little bit of extra energy now that he needs for these last few laps. And Isabit's kind of just thinking, how can I win the race now?
Could we have a sprint out of that bottom corner between these two riders? We've seen them going against each other as under 23s. They are the arch rivals. They are the, as Wout Van Aert and Mathieu van der Poel were the little bumps of the elbows here as well. And Pidcock just starting to boss this one at that, try and get through towards the front. Doesn't want to let Isabit get the lead here, hasn't he? Pidcock's got a battle to try and get that keep that front position, would you say?
Yeah, definitely. It doesn't really help in these conditions to be totally on somebody's wheel, because you just end up, like I said, riding somebody else's line, and you know, maybe that's not necessarily the best for you, and you need to see what's coming up. Yeah, you can see them just really fighting out now. Fighting for those lines, fighting for that grass.
Looking at this course, where's the best places to try and pass if you're going to try and do it?
You really just have to look at what the other person's doing. Like if you see them making the same mistake every lap on a certain part of the course and you're gaining on them, then definitely that would be the place to go just before that section. And it's just really where you can capitalise maybe on somebody else's weakness rather than you kind of just putting the power down, because they're obviously really similar in that area at the moment.
Pidcock and Isabit looking good here at the front. Thanks for all your chat over on our forums. And Nikki Bramier, who is with me. Nikki's making her commentary debut today for commentating for the first time. It's great to have Nikki with us. Her insight, you've seen her on the top step of the podium in many, many races over the years, making her commentary debut here on GCN Racing today. Thanks, Darren Howard, for checking in. Matthew Domnarski as well, also checking in over on our Facebook. Pavel Bocek, Specialized v Ridley at the front. Yeah, two Ridley cross bikes though, Nikki. They are, when you put sort of Cross, Stevens, Ridley, they were always, for many years, they were the dominant brands, weren't they?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I can remember riding them for a lot of years on Telenet. We always rode Ridleys, and I never really wanted to change from that, because I was just convinced that was a bike for me, and that was the frame that I liked. And then once I changed to Specialized, I realised that was a bike for me. So I think it's I mean, which is what Tom's on obviously now. So shout out to Specialized there.
Tom Pidcock attacking now, starts to get the gap. Ooh, goes super hot two-wheel drift there from Pidcock. He's attacking Eli Isabit now. Super slide there from Tom Pidcock. Nice save. Now he's pushing this one back. If you're just joining us, it was a lead from Eli Isabit. He looked like he had this race won. He unshipped his chain at the bottom of the Koppenberg. That allowed the second place rider, Tom Pidcock, to try and come back to him. Let's have another look at this, Nikki. Nice save.
Oh, really nice save. Yeah, some good skills going on there, Tom.
If you didn't see our Trinity launch video, and as well, Tom and Cameron Mason. A few of you asked where Cameron Mason is. Cameron's under 23, so wasn't racing today. He'll be back on Sunday, but they have a lot of fun, these two, Cameron Mason and Tom Pidcock, in races. Now he's stretching this advantage. Again, psychologically, for Isabit, had that advantage, that little bit of an issue. Could that be creeping back in here, or is he just, again,
for sure.
He's just too much?
Yeah, I think Tom's just chose his moment and he's absolutely over his limit at the moment. There's only so many times he can do that in a race, and he's decided that he needed to go now. Maybe he realised that Isabit would be a little bit unconfident in that last section before the Koppenberg, so he just wanted to really kind of capitalise on that and go for it.
This, again, looking at this, Isabit's had a great start to the year, so many victories so far. For Tom, this, if he can pull this one off, this would be his first elite victory here that we're seeing.
Yeah, this would be a real big victory for Tom, and obviously again it's the whole thing of being at the Koppenbergcross. It's a classic. It's something that you remember forever, and you know, it's a really big race to win.
Head of the race, Tom Pidcock attacks the Koppenberg. Isabit goes through the point where he had the problem on the previous lap. Pidcock digging deep here for Trinity Racing, the British champion, being chased hard by his arch nemesis, you could call him, Eli Isabit. This looks like the battles that we could have here in cyclocross for the next decade. A lot of you excited, as we all are, to see the return of Mathieu van der Poel, Wout Van Aert. How will these two young riders fare against them? Pidcock looks back over his shoulder. Isabit attacking the Koppenberg. Again, out of the saddle at the top of this one. And he really is, Tom Pidcock there, he's dug really deep. One lap to go here in the Koppenbergcross.
This is going to be exciting, this last lap. It's, what's Isabit going to do now? Is he going to attack? Is he going to wait?
This could come down to the smallest, minutest error here, couldn't it, on this final lap?
Yeah, 100%. They're both going to be absolutely flat out. They know there's Isabit is going. Look, he's not going to change back.
Pidcock looks across. He needs to take a quick bike change here. Isabit opts not to change. Pidcock gets onto a fresh bike. Tactically, when you're in that position, Nikki, and you see Isabit attacking this section, goes right. When you see your opponent go into the pits like that, it's got to be, again, a reflex reaction. Do I change or do I not?
Yeah, 100%. And you have to make that decision so quickly. You know, one little second of hesitation here can cost you the race. So you just need to really keep composed and yeah, just be confident that you've just got a new bike and that it's going to be lighter at the climbs and you're going to have more grip on the descents, and just absolutely go for it. You've got nothing to lose.
But Pidcock opted for the bike change. Isabit didn't. Now he opens up the gap. Isabit, that's unshipped his chain a little bit earlier on, this battle between the two front riders. Isabit and Van Torenhout is at 1 minute and 2 seconds. Again, the gap's back between the top three as Toon Aerts here, last year's winner, goes through on the final lap. That shows the severity of this course and the conditions today.
Yeah, definitely. Usually the gaps are a lot closer on this race when it's drier. So obviously, for this being the first DVV Trophy already, this is going to create some big gaps going into those next races for the series standings.
Pidcock trying to get back to East a bit. Just tucking it down. Can he get back on? Can we have a sprint between these two on the Koppenberg? Looking at that last lap, if he can get back on here, Isabit just looked like he had that little bit more on the Koppenberg that last time round.
Yeah, he was able to close that gap a little bit more, wasn't he? Than Tom wasn't able to keep the gap that he had coming off that field. So I think Tom's going to have to go a little bit early again to try and do that again. But yeah, it's going to be tight.
Van der Haar, Van Kessel, Meyerson is your next riders. That back to the head of the race. We've seen battles like this many times in the Koppenbergcross. Tom Pidcock, having got rid of those glasses, you can now see the effort etched on the face of the British champion. Isabet has had his hands in the air many times this season, and again, he's just got to be careful he doesn't overcook some of these off-camber sections.
Yeah, 100%. They can't look too much to the finish line at the moment. They just have to concentrate on every little section that they come into and getting their lines right, and yeah, just focus on being smooth.
If you're tuning in on the back end of the Koppenbergcross here, you can see what a brutal course it is. Look at the effort etched on the face here of Tom Pidcock as he fights to try and get back up to Isabet, as the crowd just roar him on. Isabet, that advantage that he had, that mechanical allowed the British champion to come back. Oh, slides out here, and that again, as we said, it can come down to the smallest of it.
Yeah, 100%. He's having to run that section now. Maybe Tom can ride it and close the gap again.
This is why we love it. This is why we love cross.
Yeah.
You can see Pidcock again just trying to control that slide there. You can see the back wheel just sliding out behind him.
Yeah, definitely. At this time, it's just you can't really focus on where your bike's going. You just have to just keep riding forwards, keep your momentum forwards, and keep the pressure on the pedals. It's not easy to do when the ground's how it is at the moment.
You can see the spray coming out of the pits there from the mechanics. Isabet, you can see the dirt and the mud just dropping off the bottom of the shoes of the Pau 1000 Bingo rider. Controlling these descents into these off-camber sections, just goes low. Can he hold this advantage now over the second place rider? Just hangs that left foot out as he goes through that section. It's going to be difficult for Pidcock to close this one back now.
Yeah, definitely. But as we've seen in the previous lap, anything can happen, so you just never know.
Different tactics as well. Pidcock choosing to run those certain sections rather than ride them.
Yeah, I think he's just doing everything he can. You can see how much grip he's losing now on these sections, and he's just doing everything he can to try and stay in contention with Isabet and not lose too much time.
For people that are watching, maybe new to this, as a rider, learning how to control that bike when it's moving, you're trying to move forward and the bike's moving in a million different directions underneath you.
Yeah, it's almost like the bike and just kind of go with the flow. Too much control can make you just fall off. So yeah, you just have to be quite loose and just go with it.
When you're as a young rider, when you come into these situations, you have to look, because Belgian cross riders always talk about, rather than grip, the maximum slide ability they can give themselves.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you're always going to be on your limit, so it's just knowing that your bike can go at any time and just, you know, what are the risks, what are the benefits of certain moves that you're going to do. So, yeah, you can just see how slippy these last few corners are now.
Jeremy Powers always talks about Sven Nys turning up on a New Year's Day or a Christmas cross in the snow and ice on white slick tyres. So he's quite special though, Sven.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it wasn't a bad rider, was it?
What a great race we have had. Elizabeth has attacked this one. Pidcock did everything he could when he got handed that lifeline when Isabet unshipped his chain at the bottom of the climb. And again, these two riders as under 23, they were the two to beat. Now moving up to elite level. You can see that the battles that they are going to give us. And again, that little mistake there by Pidcock, that just hands Isabet another couple of seconds advantage there.
Yeah, you can just see Isabet's power coming out there. You know, the effort comes before those steep banks, not on the steep bank, and he was just able to push on the pedals a little bit more than Tom there. So he's just got to be controlled, be as smooth as possible these last couple of corners.
Shame to see some of the plastic, but I think that's the next thing for cyclocross, is to go plastic neutrals somehow, I think, when we see all
yeah. I've been knocked out a few times off a race because people have put the blooming cups in the way, or
yeah, you can see them right. See them right in the middle of the course here, and that's what people forget. We'll have to talk to Erwin about that one.
Yeah.
Off of that section. Yeah, definitely. Isabit off the bottom of that little drop there. He's now about to hit the Koppenberg. He'll want to get through here with no issues. He's onto the climb. He'll shift through the gears, just trying to get those feet in. Again, you can see how much mud they have on the bottom of the shoes. Pidcock sprinting. A great battle that we've had here in the Koppenbergcross. One of the most special races of the year, this one. As Isabit makes his way up the Koppenberg, he's going to add his name to a select group. Sven Nys has won this race 9 times. The first winner, Rudy Tillemans, back in 1988. It was Toon Aerts last year, Matthew Van Der Poel, Wout Van Aert's won it 3 times as well. The man of the season so far as Pidcock digs deep on the cobblestones. Isabit, another look back over the shoulder just to check where the Trinity Racing rider is. Up to the summit. Eli Isabit takes the victory, crosses the line, and comes to a stop. And then the exhaustion.
Absolutely spent.
Tom Pidcock comes in now for second place. Nikki, you said again earlier on, you just see the effort of these riders on this course, on this race. An hour and 2 minutes as Pidcock comes in for second. Nowhere to rest at all, even on the descents round the back.
No, on the descents you have to just keep your concentration, keep the power down, keep moving forwards. You know, you can't just freewheel and have a bit of a breather. These riders are absolutely on, full gas all the time.
How long does it take to recover normally after something like this?
It really depends, and it depends on your condition. I mean, some riders, you know, they'll be absolutely gassed out now, and in an hour's time they'll be chatting and absolutely fine, and maybe a little bit sore tomorrow. But yeah, maybe a day or two, and then they'll be back out training and looking for the next race, or back on the start line in Rudevoorde this weekend.
They'll be fine for Sunday. Michael Van Torenhout comes in to the finish. Second last year. It's going to be third this year. First and third today for Paul Sals and Bingo. Up to the finish. 1:25 and counting for Van Torenhout. Third spot on the podium for him. Solid result, that one for Van Torenhout.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, he just didn't give up, did he? He was full gas all the way, and obviously paid off with a podium, so I'm sure he'll be happy about that.
Here comes last year's winner. It was a sprint from the bottom corner from Toon Aerts, Michael Van Torenhout and Wout Van Aert. It's fourth place, so a respectable defence of that title from last year. Toon Aerts crosses the line next for fourth, 1:57 down for Toon Aerts. Oh, look at the effort. Lars van der Haar comes in. This is a good result for Lars van der Haar. Fifth place for the Dutchman.
Yeah, definitely on a course like this. It's not necessarily suited to Lars, so I think I'll be pretty made up with that.
And a shake of the head there for Toon Aerts. So 2:11, and Tim Malia comes in next. Malia grinding it out, just shows how brutal this race has been. We saw him sliding out as he went hot into that turn with Tom Meusen. This is a good finish again from Meusen. He'll be happy with that one today.
Yeah, for sure.
Corny van Kessel crosses the line next for seventh place. And Kessel, then it will be, I think, Malia that comes in behind him. Let's have a look. It is Tim Malia comes in. Eighth place for Malia. Getting our top 10 together nicely here. He'll have a handshake with Tom Meusen now. There you go. Bit of a hug between those two. There's Jens Adams crossing the line for ninth place. Adams So I'll apologise again for the slight technical issues that we're having today. Thanks for bearing with us. I know the guys have been battling to try and get that sorted for you, so my apologies. And thanks for bearing with us today. We do appreciate it. 9th place. We're looking for our 10th placed rider coming in towards the finish. I saw Telenet Baloise Lions jersey coming up. And here we come in towards the finish. Is it Jim Arnouts coming in next? It is. So Arnouts crosses the line there for 10th place. So for Telenet Baloise Lions. Mika Borosh, we just saw crossing the line. Nikki, what a great battle. And again, that issue for Isabet, that's cross. That's what makes this sport such a spectacle.
Yeah, for sure. Anything can happen in cross, and you have to be prepared for that as a rider and as a spectator as well. You never know what can happen. But I think it's great that we're seeing that battle today, and I'm sure we can see many more of those to come in the next few weeks, months and years. So yeah, it's great for the sport.
Again, when you look at under 23s and you look at them as elite, sometimes you see riders that are battling it out as under 23s. They move up to elite and then one flies and the other one doesn't. But not the same with Pidcock and Isabet.
Yeah, I mean, everybody just progresses at their own rate, and they have different training regimes. They have different focuses, different goals through the season. So, yeah, you always hope that the riders that come through those ranks together end up staying together until they turn elite and they can still keep battling one another there. And I think that's what we'll see the next few years with these two.
It's going to be good. So we have, if you haven't seen the news, so Sunday we're back with Rode of Order, the return of Mathieu van der Poel. We're hoping for some big battles, great results today. I'll give you the top 10. Isabet, Pidcock, Van Turenau, Aerts, Van der Haar, Meeuwsen, Van Kessel, Merlier, Adams and Arnouts. Thanks to Nikki Bramier for being with us today. We're going to leave it there. We'll see you on Sunday. Bye for now.
See ya.